Yes, this is the longest we've not seen each other for over a year, Christy. So.
I know, it's wild. And also, sad times. The original plan for us to be in person, but with events as they are, change of plan. Back separately in our own homes once more.
Yes, back doing pour and sip in my jogging bottoms.
Well, the big question, Andy, do you have your pour and sip socks on, our little Christmas present?
Well, yes, mine are actually on, and I'm not going to attempt for any of the viewers because this could go horrendously wrong, but they're actually on. So Christy can show us how wonderful the socks are.
They are amazing. Look at them. I was so excited to see them.
And yeah, and I suppose a bit of housekeeping for us to do is there's the possibility for our guest tonight to win a pair of socks like these.
Oh, yes. So there are lots of prizes this evening. First of all, actually, we should get our own house in order. Welcome. If it's your first time tasting with us this evening, that's what we should say. We're so excited about the prizes and the party. We forgot to say hello. So
they probably, if it's the first time, they probably think there's prizes every time we do these pour and sips. It's just, that's what it's like.
Well, we are just full of treats this evening. So yeah, welcome along if it's your first tasting. We are Christy and Andy. We love to geek out about booze, and we're glad you're here with us this evening. We want you to get involved. So whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook or Twitter, keep your comments coming in. We want to hear your tasting notes. We will hear what you think. We want your questions for our guests. And boy, do we have a lot of guests today.
Yes. So for anyone who doesn't know, usually we split these tasting sessions up between the box. So we'll do one tasting session with 3 drams and the next one with 2. But as this is Christmas, we're going with all 5 tonight. And we have 5 special guests to discuss all the whiskies with us. So yes, this is going to be absolutely amazing. A bumper pour and sip session tonight.
A bumper one indeed. And not just a bumper pour and sip session for guests, because 5 is a lot and we're treating you really well for Christmas. We have got 3 competitions. And yeah, lots of fabulous things to win. Andy, should we kick off with the tasting note competition?
Yes. So throughout tonight, if we love your tasting note, you could win a pour and sip tumbler, pour and sip socks, a Teeling flat cap, or Penderyn glass. I've said that wrong, haven't I?
Penderyn, come on, we got Penderyn with us on the call.
Penderyn, yes. So it's like a lucky dip tonight. So you could be in with a chance of winning something really special. But the thing is, you need to get involved with us. So make sure you're sending us in your tasting notes because we're going to pick the ones that we like the most. And there's no limit on how many of you can win. So we can really pick as many as we like. So the best tasting notes, please join in. So whoever, that's the first prize session for tonight. Christy, the second prize giving session for tonight.
The second one is super fun. So we have got 5 guests tonight, which means we have got kind of like a little quiz with 5 questions throughout. Every one of our guests has a little question for you at the end of every tasting, and you'll win a full bottle with one of the whiskies from December's box. Like obviously our guest, their whiskey, that's what you will win. This time there can only be 1 winner for each whiskey. And what we need you to do, if you think you know the answer, we need you to tell us the correct answer in the comments. So fastest finger first with this one. And you might have a bit of a guess. Some of them, I'd be surprised if you know them. They're pretty hard. I think our guests have been pretty mean with their questions.
I was about to say I got nowhere near any of them probably.
But it's good. So yeah, guess. Get involved, guess. And the first person who gets it right wins, which is very exciting.
Yes, absolutely. So that is the second session. And then our last session is whoever can guess the whiskey brand that is going to be in January's pour and sip box is going to win a pour and sip Christmas box, which is absolutely awesome. So we're not specifying the actual whiskey because I think that would be too harsh, to be honest with you. So we'll happily accept just whiskey brand that's going to be in the January pour and sip box.
Exactly. We'll give you a little reminder of this as we go. So the first one, tasting notes. Keep your tasting notes coming in just like usual. In the comment box, get really involved. You want creativity. We want, your memories, what these amazing like flavors and aromas evoke. Like tell us everything. The most fun and elaborate tasting notes. This is what we're looking for. We're not looking for, this is a bit like whiskey. We want esoteric and exciting. And
there's no right or wrong answers either. So you can really say anything. And if this is your first time, please just get involved with the tasting notes. And you're lucky if this is your first time because with your tasting notes, you get a chance to win something. So.
Normally, you just get the prize of us reading them out, but that's
Yes.
And also very important to say, how do you claim your prizes? So if you think you've won, or if we shout out your tasting note, or if we tell you you've won, just for all of the legals and terms and conditions and all of these things, we need you to email us. So if we say that you've won, email us. Our wonderful colleague Jess is behind the scenes taking notes. So we will know if there's any like sneaky cheating going on. But the critical email address is hi@portandsip.com. So you need to have, your comment and everything in the chat function, and then email us as well. And then we can get back to you and arrange for your prizes to get to you.
Lots and lots of prizes to be won tonight, Christy.
Lots of prizes.
Prizes.
I feel like I'm in need of a drink already. I don't know about you. I feel like even reading out about the competitions, there are so many prizes and it's thirsty work.
Lots of comments coming in. Very happy with the 5-star tastings this evening. Ian Slack, Eddie Marshall. Evening all. The household is very excited for 5 Christmassy drams. Cooper. Great name. Evening all. 1 box, 5 drams. Looking forward to this one. Mike Pizarro. Love my socks. Welcome back, Mike. A regular. Steve Coleman Williams. Another regular. Christy, have you opened your advent calendar? Pour and sip. She needs a word.
I've opened some of them. Look, I've opened some, but I have been like manically busy, so I'm playing catch up. But yes, they are around. I think I've got through like 6 or 7, but it's okay because it just means I'm extending the Advent joy. It's good.
Yes, exactly. Jonathan B, day 3 of COVID isolation here. This morning I lost my smell and taste, so sadly no tasting for me. That's sorry to hear that, Jonathan. We wish you all the best and hope you're better soon. Bruce Edwards, been to Brecon for a bottle of Portwood before. Christmas has come early.
Excellent. I think without further ado, we should bring our first guest on. Andy, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, for sure.
Because time. This is the other thing tonight. We are going to be racing through because it's a busy, action-packed evening. Now, we absolutely love this guest. He's been with us before. He is so much fun. You're going to have an absolute blast. Please put your hands together for Mr. Colin Dunn. Here he comes.
We need a drum roll now for Colin.
Woo! Here's Colin. How are you doing, Colin?
Great. I was about to say it's great to be invited back on Saw and Pip. But I realised, I need to just tone that down a little. I did a tasting last week, and I was saying to everyone, just look at the lovely colour on that whiskey. And I got so immersed in it that, and this is for all you viewers at home, don't do it over your laptop because I ended up spilling some over the laptop, and it was goodbye Zoom. So
we've learned from the error of your ways. Thank you for teaching us about the dangers of whiskey tastings.
Exactly. Well, I've got a nice little gem here, which I think will definitely blend into the festivities this Christmas. Have you tried this yet?
I have not, and I'm going to leave you in Andy's capable hands, but I have a dram right here to taste along with you, and I can't wait. But I'll see you on the other side, Colin. Enjoy, Andy. I can't wait to taste. See you later.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So let's talk a bit about Cragganmore, Colin.
Yeah, I think so. All you viewers at home, just so you get in the groove nice and early, I'll tell you a little bit about this wonderful Speyside distillery. But while I'm doing it, just pick up your glass, cover it with your other hand, give it a little swirl, and for the first one of the evening, just to get your olfactory your nose working, just put your nose in, just put your toe in the water, so to speak.
Not dipping,
and just get your first whiff of what I call almost like a smoked meat note. It'll develop, in my words, into cherry tobacco. There's definitely a big cherry note coming through. So just while I'm just telling you a little bit about a brief history of Cragganmore, just get into that nose. And if any of you at home have got some dark chocolate available, this is a perfect foil after we've tasted it neat, just to get that thick, rich, viscous note that will really draw out the flavour. So Cragganmore, Speyside, northeast Scotland. In Diageo's terms, a lot of Cragganmore is used in blends. It's probably our most asked for distillery for new make spirit. We often trade our whiskies with other companies to use in blends. And effectively, Diageo is a blending company that also releases single malts. Cragganmore has only really come into its own in the last 20 or 30 years. There's a wonderful aromatic 12-year-old. But here, and this was started around about 22 years ago, we played around with putting our whiskey, in this case, Cragganmore, into a secondary cask. And this is now all the rage now. You can't believe the amount of secondary cask finishing. I think somebody once called it aced, accentuated cask enhancement. Hey, how good is that? This has been aced. So we played around with various different mixes, things like fortified wine, cognac, Fino, Oloroso, and with Cragganmore Portwood, Ruby Portwood was added to the 12-year-old American oak matured whiskey. So what we're looking at is fattening it up, adding a little bit more texture, tea for texture, and giving it a totally different feel in the mouth. So if you've all given this a good little swirl, again, you've got that wonderful cherry note. It's almost like, and if any of you are fans of old, sweet, fortified red wine, it's definitely making an impact on this whiskey. Cragganmore, normally beautifully balanced, aromatic, almost a Japanese incense kind of style. But here it's taking on a much more meaty kind of flavor. So let's just give it a short taste, and will I tell you a little bit more about this wonderful distillery.
Oh, yeah.
Now, just while you're savoring this, and this one comes back at you in the finish, that peppery spice note really showing a little bit of that distillery character. This Cragganmore is one of the few expressions that I use if I'm serving up a whiskey dinner, and it's, excuse me for any vegans listening in, if you're a meat eater, particularly red meat, I use Cragganmore almost like a sauce, and you can literally blend this in over a medium rare steak or a venison. And who needs Bisto? Who needs gravy? This will take.
I know what I'd choose over this and Bisto, just in general.
You know what I mean? I mean, Bisto is okay, but this one really takes it to another level. And there was a whiskey writer that some of you may have heard of. One of the original whiskey writers was a guy called Michael Jackson, and you can find him on YouTube, and he's got some great books that were released when he was alive, bless his heart. And when I spoke to him years and years ago, he said that of all the whiskies that he tried, Cragganmore is the most complex because it constantly changes in the glass. And this is in a way, this is Cragganmore in HD. It's taken it to another level, showing that the port character can give you that savory sweetness in the mouthfeel.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the finish, back comes the wood influence, the American oak influence, and it lifts it back into whiskey territory. So for me, to be able to get that fruity sweetness from the port casks and add it to that very clean tasting Cragganmore style, they work really well together. And I'd like to think the viewers at home, you're going to be tasting 5 different whiskies. If you're able to, if you've got more than one glass, I suggest save a little bit of this and come back to it because it's a little bit special. Cragganmore, by the way, as I said, most of it goes into blends. There's a particular old blend called Old Par, very popular in South America. Cragganmore is the major constituent in that particular blend. And it's only in the last sort of 10, 15 years that Cragganmore has been coming out in different expressions. There's been 2 or 3 in the special releases. In fact, last year, we released a cask strength Cragganmore that had much more of a smoky, peaty influence, again, showing the diversity and the character of this whiskey. So whether you've got a Father Christmas hat on or not, this is the kind of whiskey to kick off your evening. I call it a liqueur whiskey, if you will, okay. Thick and rich and viscous.
Yes, absolutely. Very much suited for our Christmas extravaganza here. I'm just going to read out some of the tasting notes from everybody, and we can choose. Colin, if you like one, definitely give us your hands, because we could be giving prizes away left, right, and centre. Gareth Peters, hey, evening, Colin. Richard Francis, hey, Colin. Claire Young, really want to dram along, but I can't. And I think later this evening, do I get a sympathy price? Yes. Michael Smith, great jumper, Colin. Richard Francis, one of my favourite whiskey names, Cragganmore. We'll get to some tasting notes soon. Eddie Marshall, getting toffee apples and candy floss. For me, a Christmas fun fair. I love that. See, because you're the first tasting note I'm reading out, Eddie, I feel like I need a kind of more notes to compare with and go, then you're going to win. But I'm going to do this real time. Eddie, for the first tasting note of the evening, you're definitely going to get a prize for that. I love that tasting note as well, the Christmas fun fair. Please email Pour and Sip. Chris Randall, I'm getting waxy fruit, cherry especially.
Yeah.
Steve Coleman Williams, dark chocolate with berries mixed into it on the nose, then passed into caramelized pear quarters. You were saying, Colin, about pairing this with a dark chocolate. This is the kind of thing you pair it with.
Yeah, I mean, for everyone out there, whiskey and chocolate go together so well. Something with like a 75-80% cocoa content, it can be really simple, like green and black, or if you can push the boat out, you know, one of the artisanal chocolatiers that are out there. There's one company called Highland Chocolatiers. They do a fantastic selection of chocolates to go with whiskey. And this, apart from it being great to kick off the evening, is also one to finish off the evening. It's definitely got the legs to send you to sleep with a big smile on your face, you know. And I just got a touch of licorice there on the back palate as well. That peppery, spicy finish. It's almost kind of like a note that I would use for Talisker. But I think it shows that from the nose to the mouthfeel to the finish, this little dram from Speyside is firing in many different directions. And the Portwood, there is a tendency sometimes, Portwood casks, without naming any names, they can make the whiskey a little bit flabby. But this one, that freshness comes back on the back palate. And I would say, somebody would say to me, how long is a long finish? And I go, well, roughly about 14.5 seconds. And this one definitely hits the spot. I hope you all enjoy this one as the first of many fine drams being
We've got
presented.
a lot of podcasts up. This is definitely a great evening, a great dram to set the night up. So Peter Gilmore smells a lovely wood and cherry aroma, very Christmassy. Yeah, that cherry that you were mentioning, Colin, it's really that. It's kind of cherry jam kind of note, possibly almost, especially on the nose, maybe the kind of hint of cherry cola as well. Bruce Edwards certainly finding the chocolate notes on the nose. Green tea is green, accentuated cask enhancement. I want that on a t-shirt.
I think it was Brooke Ladder who came up with that originally, so it's definitely not my own.
There you go.
Those tasting notes are really good, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Gerard McNeely, Bakewell tarts. I love Bakewell tarts. I'm going to definitely say, Gerard, that's a great tasting note. I'm well up for that, so you can get a prize. I feel like the prize game. We're giving away as many prizes today, so please get involved with this. Yozza Hughes, nose of ripe cherries, smoked meats, and tobacco. Smells
That's it.
divine.
You've nailed it, Yozza. You've got the job, right?
Yeah, Yozza,
Start Monday.
Yozza, prize for you. And not only have you won yourself prizes, the possibility of a Pour and Sip glass, you've also won the possibility of a job with Colin and at Diageo. So he'll see you on Monday morning.
Yeah. Whereabouts is Yozza based, if I may ask?
Well, we'll ask. Yozza, let us know where you're based.
Ask him, because if I'm in a town near him, I will bring along something a little bit special, Yozza, and we can share a dram together. All right?
There you go. There you go, Yozza. Yozza has already won the evening tonight. An evening with Colin Dunn and also a possibility of a Pour and Sip glass or a Teeling cap. Mike Pizarro, this is weird, but it smells warming, like maybe melted chocolate and ginger.
Wow. I can see that.
Stephen Gow, cool. I'm getting banana chocolate. Malcolm Tucker, you go back in to check if you're getting banana chocolate. Malcolm Tucker on the nose, I get fresh red summer fruits with a little orange undertone. Absolutely.
I've just gone back into it and banana. I got the banana. There it is.
The power of suggestion. The absolute power of suggestion. It's there. Paul Jackson on the nose, spicy cherry, citrusy cucumber, and clean smoke. Really interesting tasting notes there. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong here. Kevin Narainen. Very sorry about that. An oven fresh fruit crumble just burning at the edges in a good way. Sounds lovely, doesn't it, Colin?
Wow.
Yeah.
You've got a plethora of tasting notes there, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Kevin, I think the prize is coming your way. Please get in touch with the Pour and Sip team. David Stanton, roasted chestnuts, barbecue meat, smoked. Now, my stepdad would be very upset with me for pronouncing this wrong. I think it's Brovers. I think I've got it wrong. It's the South African, like beef jerky.
Yes.
I think I pronounced that wrong. And my stepdad is South African, so he'd be absolutely livid with me. But there you go. Absolutely, you were saying earlier about that kind of really meaty kinds of, note that you're getting within the spirit.
Yeah. I mean, Mortlach has that kind of character, but it just shows the blenders. I think for me, they're the most important people in this whole exercise of accentuated cask enhancement, so to speak. If you're going to release something to the public, it's got to be different than the commercially led expression. It's got to add something to it. It's got to give it it's almost like you've got to give it a different coat to wear to see if it can sing and still give the distillery character, but also take on. And this is happening now massively across, the whole whiskey category, where everyone is experiencing or experimenting, should I say, with different casks to see how their particular whiskey and reacts to that secondary maturation period. This is, for me, I'm really happy that this was chosen and for it to be the first one of 5 this evening.
Yeah.
And one to go back to if you're able to. It's wicked. And also, just to finish here, for me, I love the labels. Labels are becoming really popular now.
That looks like an old school vintage label. I love it. It's like it's like a hark back to the past. I love it.
Yeah.
We've got absolutely loads of tasting notes coming in. However, I'm very aware of time, and I'm particularly aware of time for Colin, who is also doing another tasting session after this. So I'm just going to read out a few more tasting notes, and then Colin, you're going to do your question for everybody. And remember that the fastest person to get nearest to the right answer is going to win themselves a bottle of this whiskey. So just a few more tasting notes before we wrap up. Steve Coleman Williams, very thick taste tobacco and rhubarb and custard boiled sweets. Absolutely. Rob Bester, maple glazed smoky bacon on the nose, dipped into a creme caramel to taste. Rob, that is a fantastic tasting note. You win yourself a prize, so get in touch with us. Jeffster, very sweet after a while. Started off nosing the dark chocolate on the nose, now getting tobacco and cigars. That's what you were saying, Colin, about it really opening up, and it goes on this journey. It's sweet, and then you're getting those tobacco notes. Trevor Shorten, cherry liqueur chocolates. Michael Smith, standing on the doorstep in the morning after log fires have been on the night before, eating jam on toast.
Wow. That's a vivid imagination. There.
Green tea is green. There is definitely red meat with a dark cherry sauce on the nose, but on the tongue, the peppery finish is more prominent, like a visit to the local Argentinian steakhouse in one step. Absolutely. That's a great taste. And green tea is green. And as you're a regular, you can definitely get a prize. And I have to say, next time you do go to the Argentinian steakhouse, make sure they're pouring this onto the steak when they're cooking it, because it makes a great sauce. Okay. So, Colin, if you want to let us know your question for our viewers today.
Okay.
And you guys have got a minute to answer this, and the closest to the correct answer is going to win a full bottle of the Cragganmore Port Wood edition.
How good is that?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, you are the gift that just keeps on giving.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are the milkman of human kindness.
Well, not me.
And I'll take a pint right there. Okay, so the question is, I'm going to use a word that some of you may or may not have heard of in the whiskey industry, and in fact, it's 2 words. Worm tubs. And this is where we catch the evaporation off the still and we convert it back into liquid form. We either use something called a condenser or we use a worm tub, which is the old-fashioned way. Now, at Diageo, we have 28 distilleries. 28. But there's a certain number that still uses the old-fashioned way of using worm tubs to convert the evaporation back into liquid form. So the question for all you viewers out there, 2021 Christmas is, how many worm tubs There's a geeky question. How many worm tubs do Diageo use in their distilleries? The answer will be between 1 and 28. Off you go, viewers.
First one to get the right and closest to the right. So I think in this case, actually, someone might get the right answer because there's only 28 options and there's definitely going to be more than 28 of you. Some of the other questions I've seen, honestly, I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So Colin's gone easy on you guys a bit more than the others have for the first dram of the evening. So closest to the correct answer or the correct answer, and the first person is going to get a bottle of the Cragganmore Port Wood. And obviously, you've only got 30 more seconds. Okay, I think we have someone already. No way.
Wow.
Let me know. Oh, no, we don't. Ignore her. It's fun. Anyway, so thank you very much as well, Colin, for joining us. I am aware of time and that you may have to depart us and this whiskey tasting. And thank you so much for coming back on. We would love to have you back on again sometime in the new year with another great dram. Last time you were on, we did the Lagavulin Distillers edition.
We did, yeah. Ain't no fooling with a Lagavulin, you know.
That needs to go on a t-shirt as well. That absolutely needs to go. We've got a winner. We've got a winner. Absolutely. Lots of guesses apparently, and we have got a winner. So the winner is, and I'm waiting for the big moment here, Bruce Edwards. Bruce, who
well done, Bruce.
Exactly. Well done, Bruce. You've probably guessed straight on with 9. So please get in touch with the Pour and Sip team. You have won yourself a bottle of the Cragganmore Port Wood edition.
Excellent.
Wow. Okay, Colin, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone. Lovely to...
Merry Christmas. Christy.
Hello. She's back. That was great. Isn't Colin wonderful?
I just love Colin.
Colin is so great. I want Colin to come and tell us whiskey puns, whiskey tales, whiskey bedtime stories. We could have
fooling with the Lagavulin. I love that.
No fooling with a Lagavulin. I mean, it's wonderful, isn't it? I mean, that was great. I mean, I was blown away by the tasting notes right there. Keep them coming in, team. There are so many more prizes to be won, and I'm so excited. And just to say, just a reminder how to claim your prizes. If Andy or myself, or indeed any of our guests, deem your tasting notes worthy of a win, or you win one of our quizzes, when we call out your name, you need to email hi@pourandsip.com. It's our very normal email address. So hi as in HI @pourandsip and all spout out. So POURAND SIP.com. And happy days. You shall be the recipient.
So many good tasting notes that honestly I could have just gone winner. I was kind of aware that, but please get involved. We are really picking lots and lots of prizes tonight. So definitely get involved with us tonight. And that was a great way to start off tonight.
I know, right? Shall we get our next guest? Because the guests are rolling in thick and fast and time is ticking and we've got 4 more whiskies to taste.
It's ticking. All right then. Well,
I'm going to bring in our guest first. Our next guest is Laura. Here she comes. Oh, hi.
Hello. I cannot believe how amazing these tasting notes are, by the way. Absolutely inspired. They remind me of the really, really old school Master of Malt ones that I think Jake used to write back in the day. They're really good.
Definitely. I'm so here for it. So, Andy, go and enjoy the dram and we'll see you again in a bit.
Thank you very much. Have fun.
Bye.
Hi, Laura. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm very well. First of all, we have to give an honourable mention to your earrings.
Oh, yeah.
Are these Christmas sprouts on your ears right here?
And they actually have little faces on them. So, they're alive as well.
So festive. Googly eyes and everything. First of all, how was your day? Are you feeling Christmassy?
I am. I'm slowly getting there more and more. We've got the decorations up now. And now I feel like I'm truly getting into it. I'm actually starting to enjoy my evenings and doing Christmassy stuff, which is great. Although trying to be a little bit more careful at the moment, as I do want to see my family for Christmas, given the current circumstances. But
Indeed.
Yes, it's wonderful. It's more Christmassy than last year, so that's great.
Well, this is good to know. And I'm glad you're feeling festive because you possibly have the most Christmassy whiskey of all time to tell us about. It's literally called Christmas cake and dark chocolate and Medjool dates and cinnamon. How festive in one little dram.
It is, and look at this bottle as well. So it's all been specifically designed for Christmas. It is our special release. So this comes from the And Whiskey line. Many of you might be familiar with Seaweed and Eons and Digging and Fire. So this is part of that line extension, and we made a very, very special Christmas bottle, which is this one right here. And when I tell you that it's selling like hotcakes, I cannot explain. We have now had to restock it 3 times when we thought that the first run was going to be enough to last us through Christmas. So it is really special. It's selling really well. And I'm really excited to taste it because it's delicious as well.
Well, I mean, you're giving the people what they want, which is a festive dram, which is what we're here for right now, literally the Pour and Sip Christmas party. But before we taste, do tell us a little bit about you. So what is your role and how do you work with the And Whiskey folks?
So I work for Atom Labs, who are the people behind And Whiskey. Basically what we do, it's really innovative the way that we work. We look for gaps in the market and we create products, and they can come from ideation to an actual physical bottle within 6 weeks. And then what we do from that point is we release small test runs or seed runs of very small batches, and we sell them on Master of Malt, and we see if they work. If they work, we then push them out and create them into a bigger brand. So we are really, really using very fast market research to find out what people want, the prices people want to pay for things, and bottle designs, everything. So it's really, really interesting. It's so much fun. It's very fast paced. We do everything from whiskies, single malts, to flavored rums, to gin. So we also did Jaffa Cake Gin, which you might be aware of as well. So it's a lot of fun, and I get to work across a lot of spirits, but my real passion has and always will be whiskey. So I'm excited to really discuss this tonight and get into it. It's a wonderful bottle.
I was going to say, you'll find yourself well at home with the Pour and Sip Club. We are all whiskey geeks. So a couple of comments already. Craig is saying he loves the look of the bottle, which is very, very cool. I do love the font and the colour. It's so gold. And then just a quick shout out for Yash, I believe your name is, the running orders. People sometimes want to let their drams breathe. So we're on the And Christmas cake currently. Then we've got Penderyn, then Teeling, then Tamdhu. So anyone who's anxious to get your drams poured, that's what we're doing now. We're on dram number 2, which is And Christmas, then Penderyn, Teeling, Tamdhu. But on with this one. So
I was going to say, just talking about the design of the bottle, this one is special. If you have seen anything else within the And Whiskey line, it is all black and white. It's very kind of that pop culture reference. You know, it was at the beginning, it kind of came from the McCartney and Ringo and all of the Beatles, and then everything was printed on T-shirts. That was where we took the inspiration from, because we really wanted the bottles to not be your classic whiskey design. We wanted to do something more accessible. We want to access the new drinkers of whiskey. We want to bring younger people into whiskey, obviously over the legal drinking age, but we want to get people enthusiastic about it again. And when this is why this is really working. It's such an accessible price point, and it's also we're trying to make whiskey simple. But what we have done with this label is we've switched it up. We've kept it very simple, but we've added you a little bit of holly and some gold.
Excellent. We love the festive touches. We love the festive touches. We've got some taste notes and some comments coming already, but I just want to give a shout out to Mike Pizarro, whose dog has ordered one of these very bottles as a Christmas gift for her masseuse. This is apparently a true story. First of all, dog masseuse, best job ever. You get to hang out with dogs all day and basically stroke them, and then you get whiskey for Christmas.
Pretty much what I do in my free time. If you get paid for that, then yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And then, so back to the whiskey. I just wanted to give that little shout out because it really made me laugh. And this is a Speyside single malt, right? But you guys don't own any distilleries. You seek out casks that you want to bottle, is my understanding.
Yeah. Yes. So it's an unnamed distillery. We can't disclose it, but it is a Speyside single malt. It's sherried. It's aged in Oloroso sherry casks, and it is made from very specially selected casks between 8 and 11 years old. They are selected by Sam Simmons, the wonderful Sam. So he went and selected very specific casks that had the characteristics of a classically sherried malt, especially with those ones with those Christmassy notes that we were looking for. So we were looking for those notes of dried fruit, of Christmas cake, star anise, all these things that go into that really, really Christmassy smell and feeling. And also the one thing that I can tell you again is that it is They use worm tub condensers in order to make this as well, so that might give some clues as to which distillery it is. But it's in Speyside, yeah, and everyone's free to have a guess. I can neither confirm nor deny any of them.
She's like a spy. If she tells us, she'll have to kill us. Amazing. We've already got. Okay, I'm going to give out my first prize of the evening because there's one here that I really like. Malcolm Tucker loved the nose on this. Like chocolate covered mince pies with the side of marker pens, which I actually love the smell of a marker pen.
Yes. So the one thing that I always get with this, and this makes me hungry every time I smell it, because it is all of those amazing things that I love eating anyway. The one thing I get really clearly is candied, specifically pecan. So you know those ones that have got that gorgeous caramelized glaze, that really toasted toffee nut. It's lovely. Yes. Yeah, and I think it's like liquid gold. I love it so much. And obviously you are going to get all of these characteristics that are written on the bottle. It's basically your tasting note right from the beginning. So you are going to get the dried fruit, that Christmas cake coming through, dark chocolate without a doubt. I get very, very strong on the nose. But there's also the underlying elements that you usually get from a classically sherried malt, such as your red fruits. I get a little bit of like red apple in there, not specifically green apple. I don't know why my brain is telling me it's red rather than green.
It's because it's festive. Red is the colour of the season.
So yeah, grapes as well in there, and the star anise. There is a slight spice to it, but I find that is far fainter than many other whiskies. I think this is quite sweet on the nose.
Yeah, for sure. Should we have a little sip?
Definitely.
Cheers. Cheers to everyone. Merry Christmas.
Cheers. I nearly went in straight away.
This is delicious. This is so festive.
It is. And the mouthfeel is amazing. It is 48%. So it's not exceptionally high, but it's still, you don't feel it, at all. But yeah, I think that those notes carry on through. Those candied nuts I get through again, still more red fruit, but very much kind of golden syrup as well. I get golden syrup a lot, and I think that's also to do with the mouthfeel. It's so evocative of smooth, kind of syrupy, amazing. I love it.
Delicious. It's delicious. We have got a bunch of taste notes coming through, and I feel like giving out some prizes as well. Some of them are amazing. First of all, to Jeffster, I'm going to blend some from each dram and call it the spirit of Christmas. Why not? I like it. Go for it. Let us know what that tastes like as well at the end. I'm so intrigued. So Eddie Marshall on the nose, getting a mahogany sideboard, sitting on an old leather armchair, eating Christmas cake. Love it. Have a prize, Eddie Marshall. Brilliant.
That is great.
DH has an interesting one. Smells like new make, tastes like dry sherry and mushy peas. I mean,
it's not a good one.
Yeah. I'm interested. Yoza, wow on the nose. It's definitely Christmas in a glass. Cloves, candied fruits, dark orange chocolate. That's a really good one. Neil's being a bit cheeky, throwing his hat in the ring with it. Tastes like Christmas cake, dark chocolate, Medjool dates and cinnamon. I mean, we're not going to let Laura do your work for you. We want more. I
do love that. I do love that, though. I do. To be fair, there's part of me that feels like that deserves a prize just for the pure cheekiness of it.
Pure cheekiness. Should we do a prize anyway for the pure cheek of it?
Yes,
Let's do a prize anyway. Email us. Some more that I'm loving here, and again, maybe repeating some prizes, but I'm here for it. This one from Paul Jackson is amazing. It's like drinking spicy mulled wine while eating a Christmas gingerbread biscuit smothered in vanilla butter and stewed cherry dram. Love it.
Oh, that is really good. Yeah, I definitely get the gingerbread now he's saying that as well. I was trying to put my finger on it because I was thinking you do pick out the spices, but that mixed with those brown sugar notes, definitely.
Yeah. And totally worthy of a prize, I feel. There's so many coming in. My goodness, you guys are so great. I'm literally running out of time. Where should we go? Who should we go to next? Neil Bolton's gone for a moment as a tasting note, which I like as well. The smell of Christmas pudding just after you've blown out the flaming rum.
Yes.
Yes. I think that deserves a prize as well. I like it.
Little segue as well, just so you know, we do actually do a range of rums called Project 173, and we released a Christmas special called Christmas Pudding Flavour. So if you're interested in your rums, check that one out as well.
I like it. I mean, just in case your whiskey lovers also like rum, I mean, why not? The more the merrier. And I'm going to give out one more prize before I've got some more questions for you, Laura. Rebecca Varga Shembri, again, apologies if I hope you got your name right. A bit like Willy Wonka's special all-in-one dinner gum. Jammy start and finishes like nutty dark chocolate. I love it. Prize for Rebecca as well.
Definitely.
It is excellent. It is excellent. So Laura, when you're thinking about, what whiskies people want, what's coming up next, what things are you looking for? What kind of little trend insights can you give us? I feel like you're a bit like a whiskey forecaster in your job.
I think what we're really looking for is price accessibility as well. That's such a huge thing at the moment. I think it's getting far more expensive to buy certain brands, and we're trying to look for a way to make something like a 10-year-old malt, single malt, more price accessible. But yeah, Isla's always huge. People always want more Isla, which is why we started off with seaweed and eons and digging and fire. But also we love tapping into that really geeky nature of whiskey as well. We've spoken about Worm Tub. We actually developed a product a while ago called Worm Tub, which focused on that act of distillation. And we are redesigning it currently to give it another go, because the bottle that we used, it doesn't go down the line. These are all the things you run into in new product development. But yeah, we're really tapping into that. The other trend, I actually did a quote for Jess the other day on flavouring trends. And we have not started to notice, I know the whiskey purists out there might not be happy about this, but the rise of flavoured whiskey. If you look at Hague Club, they released the orange. Teeling has their orange one as well. And we're looking to play around with rye and a bit of flavouring too. So we definitely look into trend insights. We're constantly looking at shopper trends through Master of Malt. We do have access to that, being part of the Atom Group. So it's amazing for us to kind of be able to use that wealth of knowledge and market research right at our fingertips. We can go, this product's selling, this isn't selling, there's a gap for this. And we can use all of that and create anything that we want, which is amazing.
Yeah, that is very, very, very cool. And a quick word before we have some more tasting notes on your question. Do you see a lot of people using whiskey in cocktails these days? I feel like this might be really wonderful to mix in a cocktail, something like an old fashioned.
I mean, without a doubt, I think that I love a whiskey cocktail. I love an old fashioned. I know that we have enjoyed many of the white waters from Swift? Yeah, they are so delicious. I love as well a highball. Something so simple as a highball, so soda water and whiskey with potentially some flavouring in there. I had a beautiful one at Milroy's the other day, which was using a Speyside malt, and it was like a peach tea in the highball. It worked so well. I find teas, matcha, coconut water all work so well and can be so simply mixed with whiskey. You don't have to be an expert to do these things. You can quite literally take some coconut water, pop some whiskey in a glass and mix it up. You've got something that is so accessible to the normal customer. So yeah, definitely. And also an old fashioned, so easy. Some bitters, some sugar, stir it. Done.
Perfect. And I feel like a whiskey with the weight and the flavour would really, really shine through in that. So amazing.
Definitely.
Now, I feel like it's time for another quiz question. What do you think?
I think so. So I am going to give you a kind of number range for this one, because it could be in the tens of thousands, which it isn't. So when I was talking earlier, I was saying that at Atom Labs, what we do is we do a test run for the first time that we're trying out a new product. This was a brand new product for Christmas. I think we released it just after Halloween, so we made sure all the Halloween madness was over. And we had to prove that it was going to work before we created it into a larger run. It has proven its success so many times. But what I want to know is, how many bottles of Christmas cake and did we produce on the first run? My hint is it is under 1,000.
Oh, so we're going quite big numbers here, but less than 1,000.
Yeah, it's not going to be 10. It's not going to be, I can say it's over 100 and under 1,000. There you go.
So how many bottles were in the first run of Christmas cake and? Right, you've got a minute from now to get your guesses in to win a bottle of this fabulously festive whiskey, which is
amazing.
So
good, and it's so giftable as well. I mean, this is why it's so good for this year. It's festive, it's pretty, it's delicious, and it's price accessible.
Yeah, and it's kitsch, and it would look very, very fun on a Christmas Day table, I feel.
Definitely. They're so Instagrammable. You have this on the middle of your table surrounded by all your Christmas food, crackers, everything. It's going to look great.
And I feel like you could turn it into a Christmas candle afterwards as well.
Oh, definitely. I could hang one of my Brussels sprout earrings from it.
Why not? Why not? Right. I am going to say that's probably a minute or so. I mean, I need like a countdown theme tune is what we really, really need. I'm lying in wait to be told. Oh. Okay. I think we have a winner. Should we do a little bit of drum roll? I don't know if that comes through, but so our winner for the bottle of the Christmas and whiskey is Steve Coleman Williams, who guessed correctly. And what is the correct number, Laura?
It's 600.
600. And you're on your third batch of this now, right?
We are, yes. The third batch is being bottled tomorrow.
Wow.
Because I am concerned about it lasting until Christmas. So go and buy what's left at the moment right now.
Yes, and we do have our Pour and Sip member store for this as well, remember. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for talking to us about the wonders of whiskey, sourcing casks, Christmas, all of the joy.
It's been an absolute pleasure anytime.
Fabulous. I'm going to bring Andy back and we'll wave goodbye to Laura. Thank you very much, Laura. Take care.
No worries.
I'm super impressed that Steve Coleman Williams has guessed between 1 and 1,000 within 20 seconds.
That was good going. That was really good going. I mean, I literally can't keep up with the questions. We've got Jess and Gio behind the scenes and Jake frantically typing away to bring us literally the breaking news, because when you're fastest fingers first like that, literally can't keep up. Literally cannot keep it up.
Yeah, well, that's pretty impressive, I have to say.
Very.
I mean, Colin's number was between 1 and 28. This was between 1 and 1,000. So well done, Steve Coleman Williams. Regular of Pour and Sip, so a very deserved winner.
A very deserving winner indeed. Now, I feel like it's probably time to bring in our next guest. What do you reckon?
We could wait a bit now, Jackie. Let's bring it in.
So next we have David coming from the wild Welsh landscape to talk to us about Penderyn. Hi there, David. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, I'm really good. How are you guys?
Really good, thank you. Really good. Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah. No, we've got some wonderful whiskies already. I mean, it's been amazing. The first two have been absolutely fantastic and really Christmassy whiskies as well. The tasting notes have been great fun to listen to as well.
The tasting notes have been so much fun. I am so like genuinely in awe of all of these things.
Yeah, yes. It's really, really fun. Love that.
Andy looks like he's already looking back over tasting notes. They're probably coming in already.
Because I missed so many. There were so many. I felt like I could have given like 100 prizes.
I know, it's fun, but the prizes will keep flowing. So let's crack on to the next one. So David, you've got both of us quizzing you right now. We're gonna.
I know. I feel very honoured actually. So thank you.
No pressure, David.
So before we crack on with the whiskey, tell us a little bit about you. What's your role at Penderyn? How long have you been there? Tell us your whiskey life story.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the global brand ambassador for Penderyn, which was a lot more fun a few years ago before COVID, when I was jetting across the world and chatting about whiskey with all sorts of different people from, our sort of export countries in Europe and America. Penderyn's been doing really well the last couple of years with COVID, of course. Now it's a lot more behind the screens, but it has meant talking to lots of different people still. So it's been really nice. But I just love seeing those moments where people's eyes light up, and we have been able to be on a few like physical tastings recently, so that has actually been really nice to like have those moments with people again. But yeah, no, it's been really good. And I started at Penderyn about, I don't even know, 2015, so 6 years ago. And yeah, just loved every minute of it since. I started as a tour guide and then sort of worked in the distillery as well, worked bottling the actual whiskey and in the warehouse, and sort of worked my way through a bunch of different roles, and yeah, loved absolutely every minute of it. And just tried to learn something new every day. Super passionate about whiskey and absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm excited to sort of dive into this whole box of like Christmassy whiskies here, because I don't think I've had a single one of these apart from the Penderyn. So it's been really, really great to try
hope
these.
So, to be honest, we hope you had tried the Penderyn. Talk to us a bit about the distillery itself. I realise here, by the way, sorry, this wasn't intentional at all, but I'm drinking tonight's Welsh whiskey in an Aberfool's whiskey glass.
How dare you? The
Absolutely
betrayal.
not intentional at all. It was just the
I can't
third
believe
glass that I had lying here ready. So it wasn't intentional. I'm very sorry. There's
No, it's absolutely
Ritual
fine. One of the
rivalry
things I think one of the things I love about the whiskey industry is that it's so collaborative. And we've chatted with the Aberfoyles guys, and I think it's amazing. We're trying to sort of bring together Welsh whiskey really at the moment,
Exactly.
and
you're on the same team essentially, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's room for everyone, and we're actually working towards creating some kind of Welsh Whiskey Association and like a protected geographical indicator for Welsh whiskey, and coming up with sort of rules that we have to stick to, and things like this to protect the quality. Those are all like super important things to be doing together, and they can only happen together. You can't have just one person decide those things. So it's like one of the things I've always loved about the whiskey industry is how friendly and how collaborative it is. Awesome.
So Penderyn, talk to us a bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the main things to point out is that the first two whiskies that we've had here, single malt Scotch whiskies, also both from worm tub condensers, which generally makes the whiskey heavier, thicker, more sort of meaty in flavor as well.
That could have been a thing tonight, Christy.
Yeah, and I think with this one,
meaty whiskies.
But perhaps not so much with Penderyn, because I do find, even though we're using port casks with this one, the distillation is so different. We're using a Faraday still that's like a sort of hybrid column pot still that creates a much lighter flavor with this whiskey. I think you smell it, you taste it immediately, you're getting that. It's a sort of brighter fruitiness that's coming through on this one. I'm thinking sort of blackberry, blueberry, but it's like a really bright fruit. It's quite delicate, quite light. I'm constantly using those two words when I'm talking about Penderyn, and this is perhaps our sort of heavier style of our range. This is maybe the sweetest end of our range, but it still has that wonderful light flavor that we're kind of known for, really, our style.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Now, I've been to Penderyn a couple of times, and quite a while ago to your first distillery. You've got lots of change in recent years, right?
Oh yeah. We're nothing if not ambitious. That's for sure. We decided a couple of years ago that we're going to build 2 new distilleries in Wales.
That's incredible.
Yeah, which definitely at the time, it was a bit crazy, a big change for the business, but it's been fantastic. We've just opened our new distillery in Llandudno. It's on the very north tip of Wales.
What a place!
Yeah, it's fantastic there. And
really, I always call it Llandudno, but is that wrong?
Well, whatever way you want to pronounce it, I don't mind. I'm from England anyway. That's maybe the thing I should have pointed out first. I'm from Surrey originally, so I moved to Wales about 10 years ago and just have never been able to leave, because it's the landscape's beautiful, people are so friendly, and Llandudno is just like definitely has all those same attributes. Yeah, it's a wonderful place. So we opened there in May and have started distilling there. And the exciting thing about that distillery is that we're producing a peated whiskey, which we've never really done before from peated malt. So that's
love a bit of peat, pour and sip. That's really great news.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Is this a first for Penderyn?
So we've done like peated casks before. So we've matured in barrels that we've stolen from Scotland, taking a little bit of their flavour to our whiskey, but we've never used peated malt. So for me, as a bit of a whiskey nerd, that's super exciting to see how that whiskey, gets through the Faraday still, through this distillation process. So we're using very heavily peated malt, and how that's going to then mature over the years as well, and where that's going to take us. So really interested to see that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Jeffster said he had a great masterclass at Penderyn literally last week.
Oh wow, fantastic!
And came away with a bottle of the peat finished distillery cask.
Yeah.
So they've still got some left. Class at Penderyn last week, great place. Just copy and pasted there. I was reading what I thought was a very long.
Coop has been to Penderyn as well. Visited Penderyn Distillery a few months back. Great place. Came back with a few bottles. Could have been many more. Well, got one to taste this evening, which is very fun.
Easy place to spend money. That's definite. That's for definite. But sort of returning to this whiskey, this is finished in port cask, so it is a finish, like the Cragganmore was. And with this one, it's spending a bit longer in the port casks than we would normally, like for a finishing, for like, let's say our Madeira finish is our classic. That would spend maybe 6 months, 12 months in the Madeira barrels for that finishing. This one is probably spending 3 or 4 years in a bourbon barrel to start with. And then it's being finished in that port cask for another 3 or 4 years beyond that. So you're getting almost, double the time going into that port barrel. So I think it's really soaking up a lot of that port flavor, which is just fantastic. It's really getting a beautiful color as well. In the glass, it's almost like a slightly rosé style color, which I think is amazing. And of
It
course,
really
natural
is
color,
gorgeous.
non-chill filtered.
I've been saving lots, but I'm putting more in now because I want to see the color.
Yeah, no, it's really kind of got
Beautiful.
that like lovely kind of rose hue to it.
Yeah.
That is wonderful, really. I
like a
didn't know if it was my
jewel tone.
light, to be honest with you, but no, it's
Yeah.
like really cool.
Yeah, and we're using like a mix of different port casks as well. We've got like wonderful relationships with all our suppliers for casks, so we're getting these ridiculous port casks in. We had some tawny port barrels that came in at one point, these big port pipes, you know, like 600 liters that had held this tawny port for 80 years, 80, which was just
Wow.
insane. And we saved those for some single casks, something really special, and a few of those single casks have been available in different markets. Those are wonderful, wonderful whiskies. But still, even for this, we're looking at, you know, sometimes 10-year-old port barrels, 20-year-old port barrels that are being used for this. They've had a lot of time to soak up that port flavor, and then they've got, you know, 3 or 4 years with the Penderyn to let that flavor sort of soak into the spirit.
That's incredible. And I mean, I feel like at Penderyn, you are quite creative with the casks that you use. How do you decide what you're going to do next? Because, yeah, Portwood, we see a few of them now, but I feel like you guys have done loads.
Yeah, it's a lot of different versions. And I think as some of the other guys were talking about, Colin was talking about this as well, I think, is that there's so much experimentation going on with casks at the moment. It seems like, you know, that's where the experimentation with single malt whiskey in the UK is really happening, is with different cask types. So we, even us who have done like lots of different types, we've got 8 whiskies in our main range, are now sort of experimenting with different types of Madeiras, different types of sherries, ports, rye casks. I think we've got coming out soon, and the distillery is 21 years old now. You know, we started in the year 2000, so we do have some older whiskey coming through as well.
Yeah.
So there might be some of that available at some point.
Oh, that's
so
such
yeah,
a tease. We'll have to keep an eye out for these age statements. That sounds
it's all on the way. There's loads of exciting stuff coming from us, I think, at the moment with the new distillery, with older whiskey. We actually put in not only Faraday stills, but we have 2 pot stills, doing double distillation in the distillery now as well since 2014. So that whiskey is coming through now as well. That's starting to be released. We just did a distillery exclusive. So yeah, so much exciting stuff coming from us, which I think is really cool. And also, we'd never really released much with independent bottlers, and there's more independent bottlings of Penderyn coming out now, which I think is really, really cool to see, because it just opens people's eyes, different markets, different types of customers trying our stuff.
That is so exciting, so exciting. And I do think it's fun. I mean, obviously, the whiskey before was an independently bottled one. The ability that people have to go and seek out intriguing casks and all of this is fun. So for Penderyn to be in that space as well, brilliant.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'd love to hear some tasting notes, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think we're overloaded here with tasting notes. I'm going to start again. Should we try it first? No, let's read the tasting notes out first. Some tasting notes out first, and then we can have a try, because I've been smelling and nosing this for a while now, and I still haven't tried it. Ian Jambo Rain, absolute regular. This is packing a big cherry Bakewell punch on the nose. Eddie Marshall, red berries with a hint of potpourri on the nose. Potpourri, sorry.
Potpourri, Andy.
Potpourri, Blimey O'Reilly. 3 whiskies in. Yozza Hughes. Again, I feel like this is going to be a really good one, because Yozza has been absolutely nailing it tonight.
On point.
Yeah, on point. Nose for Penderyn. My mum's booze-soaked chocolate cherries. Taste is so creamy and fruity, and finish is peppery but still sweet and fruity. I would love to taste those booze-soaked chocolate cherries. They sound absolutely amazing. Steve Coleman Williams. This is one of the few bottles that he has that he won't ever open. He has the Welsh Grand Slam team signatures on the side from the distillery, and then written in Welsh. Christy, can you pronounce that?
I've got a technical issue, Andy. You're on your own.
Here I am having to answer all the Welsh.
I know. I had a good time to be able to see them here, didn't I?
Simru Yun Bid. I've gone for it. Don't know what
that's a decent try. Probably better than I could do.
Yeah, we haven't got someone Welsh online, so it's fine.
Apologies to all our Welsh viewers.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Jester, this is so far the lightest and less aggressive on the tongue than the other two. It's what you were saying about that kind of brighter as well, not necessarily light. It's brighter than the other two in particular. Anselm Waring, pink wafer biscuits on the nose.
Oh, I love that.
I love that.
That's I love those biscuits, and I love that tasting note. I think that's spot on.
Anselm, get in touch with the Pour and Sip team. That is an absolute prize for you.
You won a prize.
You won a prize. Hi at pourandsip. Christy.
Hi at pourandsip.com.
Jason Calvert, definitely Bakewell tart. That's the second Bakewell tart note that we've had today. Malcolm Tucker, nose for me was oak and summer red fruits. Reverend Kevin Wright saying the Faraday still seems to give a very pure, clean whiskey, not too complex. So that's interesting. Michael Smith, the nose on this is like an old sweet shop. Now, funnily enough, when I first put my nose in it, I couldn't, but for me, I was getting like mint humbug. I don't know where this came from at all, but it was like the first thing when I put my nose into it that I smelled. And he's getting that old sweet shop, rhubarb and custard, pear drops, apple sours, gummy dolphins, very specific.
Oh, I love that. I love those tasting notes. Those are great.
There's more. Foam shrimps, cherry laces, rounded off by milk chocolate and marzipan. Wow,
it's a complex one. Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Tasting notes. I think that is an absolute prize.
That's the whole sweet shop. Give them a prize.
Gone into the sweet shop, Michael. That's a prize for you. Get in touch with the Pour and Sip team. Chris Randall is saying that the amber colour is lovely. Neil Bolton smells like when you slip on an old leather jacket or open up a leather wallet with some crumpled notes in it. That's very interesting tasting.
That's creative.
Very creative. Neil, I think you're going to get a prize for that, just due to the absolute creative kind of time and place you've put on that. Very specific. Eddie Marshall, Mr. Kipling's cherry baked rolls with vanilla ice cream. Clive Hampton, apricots. David Woolcock embodies the taste of high tea with an aged aunt.
Specifically with the aged aunt. The aged aunt has a certain smell that she's adding to the situation.
We've lost Andy. We've lost him.
Kevin Narray. Kevin Narray, blueberries that have been used as a brooch on an old leather brooch, on an old leather jacket, which is probably not a great idea. It's amazing. Joe F. There's toasted wood and a smooth sweetness on the nose, like hot jam and a sponge cake with roasted nuts on the edge. That's a wonderful tasting note, Joe F. I think that deserves a prize for you. Paul Jackson, amazing sweetness and clean taste from a young whiskey. Your distilling process works top drawer. I think there's absolutely loads of these going on, and we'll carry on. Should we carry on? There's just so many tasting notes.
I mean, I've already been having a little sip, but I've been chuckling away at the tasting notes. So I think you've deserved a sip, Andy, after that.
I love the image of the sweet shop. I get that, and I get that all the time with Penderyn. Whichever version that you try, you get this sort of image of these sort of hard-boiled sweets, these old style sweets. I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, I definitely get that on the nose. And a little bit of dark, I find there's a tiny bit of dark chocolate at the back on the finish, just giving a bit of a bitterness. That's something that we're really, really looking for in all of our whiskies, is the sort of balance, that the whiskies, not too sweet or not too bitter or woody or oaky, that it's all kind of coming in and is nicely balanced between the different layers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Peter Gilmore said, to the nose, the cherry cake as dessert on with a log fire, very nice. And my dad said Welsh whiskey wasn't up to much, but I like it. It's very lovely. Is that like kind of like a stigma that needs to be kind of, like, are you constantly fighting that? He's like, well, Welsh whiskey, blah blah blah. I think it's going. I think yeah, there has been a stigma in the past, but I think also our whiskey's been improving a lot as well. I'll be the first to say that I think, some of our very early batches that we did the first couple of years, the whiskies weren't quite there yet, but we've been, perfecting our art over time, perfecting the maturation times and different barrels that we're using, and changing little things as well. And the big change that happened at the distillery was in 2013, 2014, when we expanded. We put in our own mash tun fermenting tanks, which we didn't have before. It was just the still, and we were maturing, but we weren't doing any of the sort of brewery process of the distillery. That was being done by a local brewery. So I think that's brought a lot of changes to our whiskey as well over the last couple of years. The quality's been going up by little notches each year. So I think some people quite rightly have tried Penderyn early on and have gone, it's not up to scratch, it's not quite there yet. But I've been hearing from people, whiskey events, whiskey festivals, as they try it again, going, oh, wow, that's really improved since the last time I tried it, which is so encouraging to hear, really, that people's minds are sort of slowly being changed. And well, that's how you answer them, isn't it? By providing an amazing product.
Absolutely.
It's just literally that.
Yeah. I've got a question for you about cask sourcing. I feel like, as you said before, and as Colin said, that as people are trying to experiment more and more, and this is a really, really beautiful expression. I'm really, really enjoying it. How hard is it to get your hands on the sorts of casks that are kind of like different enough, but also good enough quality to make products like this?
I think it helps if you get in there early. So I think now there's a lot of new distilleries, there's a lot of independent bottlers started up, and perhaps it is a lot more difficult than it was 5 or 10 years ago to source casks, because there's just more companies looking for those casks now. But I think we're still one of the only people using Madeira casks in any sort of large quantities, and we have amazing relationships with a lot of these producers that will sell these casks to us. And I think Madeira in particular is the one that I think of, because we have relationships with everyone on the island and source casks from all over the island. It's so important to have good relationships with these people, to be friendly with these people. And there's a give and take there, that we're buying their casks and using a little bit of their flavor. So yeah, definitely it's gotten more difficult, but yeah, I think you've got to have those relationships in place, and of course know the right people. Something that really helped with us as well is that when we started, we hired a consultant who wasn't very well known at the time, perhaps, who was Dr. Jim Swan, who of course then went on to work with hundreds maybe of other distilleries. But he'd only really just started his consultancy when we first met him, and he became such a big part of Penderyn and what we were doing and the casks that we were sourcing and all of this. So Jim really sort of forged the way for us in terms of sourcing casks, in terms of managing casks. So we're really indebted to him in so many different ways, but in particular with that, perhaps.
Yeah, he is somebody whose name comes up a lot, and I do wonder what the whiskey industry as a whole would look like today. Like if he'd never worked in whiskey, imagine. He's in his life, he touched so many different producers and worked with so many different people. It's really, really remarkable. If you're not familiar with Dr. Jim Swan, do have a Google, because his body of work is incredible. Yeah,
absolutely. And another little sort of thing to look out for, perhaps, is that there are talks, very early talks, I think, about doing some kind of Jim Swan blend with different Jim Swan distilleries. Maybe that's all still confidential, and I'm just giving it away. But I've heard rumors. That's all I'm saying. I've heard some rumors. It might be there at some point. So keep an eye out.
We've signed many NDAs in this Port and Sip Club from guests who've said things that have then happened. I'm just going to read out a few more tasting notes.
Go for it. Yeah. I love them.
Trevor Shulton, the two very similar things, is saying leeks and blueberries. So together, and that's a really interesting tasting note in particular. Leeks in particular for me. Rebecca Varga Shembri, very sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Fruity and vanilla to the nose. Nigel Gain, apple nose, light as well. Great experience. Jonathan Gumbrough, this is really light on the tongue with a lovely linger. Kevin Naran, oh yeah, pink wafers. Yeah, is that pink wafers again? Absolutely. George Smith, grappa fruit salad with extra watermelon.
Grappa fruit salad. Is that a fruit salad where you pour grappa over the top? Because that sounds amazing.
Fruit soaked in grappa. I'm not sure. Maybe a bit more. We need to know a bit more about this grappa fruit salad.
I want to try that.
Yeah.
Alistair Tapp, get a nose like pear drops that have been wax polished while opening a bag of peanuts.
That is
I love that. That's great.
I feel like that one's got a prize. That one's got
100%. That is winning a prize. And it's like I said, the pear drops thing is like that sweet shop thing that that I can't remember who it was, who else said it, but absolutely. Clive Hampton, unusual and fruity. I could drink a pint of this. Well, please drink responsibly. Remember, we pour and sip here. But yes, this is definitely wonderful stuff. Jeffster, I really like this. Smooth, and it's probably a good one to introduce to someone who doesn't like whiskey. So making a good entry level whiskey. Absolutely, like you said, it's not too much of it's not too sweet, it's not too harsh. The alcohol percentage is right. No. So it's kind of it's wonderfully balanced as well. Yeah. So
we hear that all the time. When we get people at the distillery, going on tours and stuff, they'll come to the end of the tour, you get a taster, and people will often say, "Oh, I don't really like whiskey. I'm not into whiskey." So, just try one. You're here. You're at a whiskey distillery. And they try it, they go, "Oh, I could drink that." And that's a wonderful moment, because it's like they've found their sort of type of whiskey that they could drink. They never thought they would like whiskey, and they try it and they go, "Oh yeah, no, I could drink that. That's really nice." So it's a comment we get all the time, that it's a whiskey that non-whiskey drinkers can get into as well.
Absolutely. I can totally get that with this. David Stanton, toasty oak mingles with a baked nutty dryness and coffee, dark chocolate and plums. Mingles. Is
What's
that
a mingle?
I'm not sure myself.
No, I don't
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, we will have to look that one up. Eddie Marshall, apricot jam on hot buttered toast on the palate. Wonderful stuff. Paul Jackson, legend, Portwood and Madeira finish, all absolutely superb. So I think it's talking about the,
Indeed. I feel like it might be time for another quiz question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you ready, David? I hear you have a good one up your sleeve for us.
I do. The questions just seem to have gotten like bigger in terms of quantities as well, in terms of the numbers. I feel like a little bit bad.
Are you the one with? Okay, yeah. I guess. This is ridiculous. If anyone gets this,
well, it's just the nearest number, isn't it? It's not that anyone's going to get. I mean, I'll be amazed if anyone gets the actual number.
They're on Google.
You deserve the bottom. Actually, I tried to make sure that this answer wasn't on Google.
Oh, okay. Well then.
Yeah. So the question is, what is the current capacity of our new Llandudno distillery? And it's in the number would be an LPA, which is liters of pure alcohol. That's sort of quite a standard measure of how big a distillery is, their capacity. And to give you an example, Penderyn, our Brecon Beacons distillery, is at 380,000 liters of pure alcohol. LPA.
So this is almost like Bruce's Price is Right. Is it bigger or smaller to start with?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can say it's smaller. It's definitely smaller than.
That's a clue. We've got a very generous clue.
I can say it's definitely smaller.
For fastest fingers first.
Yeah, let's start the timer. Go, go, go. Oh, you've got the timer.
Now we've got to wait for 30 seconds. Just like
but it's amazing. What a sound. I'm so impressed you found this timer. Well, we do still have another 30 seconds.
That is so great.
What did you get, Christy? 6, 7, 8?
6. I mean, I did once get an 8, like legit once get an 8, and I nearly fell off my chair in shock with myself. I can't remember what it was, but it was one that everyone else got. It was really easy, but still, I got an 8 once on Countdown.
Right, we need to see if anyone said. Rebecca Valka-Shambry says she needs to get herself an aged aunt as well. And Mingle was a minty chocolate, which actually goes with the mint humbug thing that I was saying. So,
okay, that does make sense. That does make sense.
Wow, yes, as just said, that Rob Bester has guessed correctly.
Oh, we've got a winner! We've got a winner!
Oh my goodness, that is fantastic.
It was 50,000, right?
Yes, yeah, it was. Well done.
There you go, Rob Bester.
Congratulations to Rob.
In 30 seconds.
That is amazing.
Are you sure this wasn't on Google?
I'm pretty damn sure, yeah. I couldn't find the answer. I had to email our distiller.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, Rob, congratulations. You've just won yourself a bottle of that amazing dram that we just tried. So
cheers.
Congratulations to you. That's an amazing prize.
And thank you so much to you, David. You've been a fabulous guest. Please do come back and talk to us again.
I hope I get to. I just want to teach a little bit of Welsh before I go. Because as I said, I'm not Welsh
I could have done with this earlier.
I'm not Welsh myself, but I do know a few words. And I think the most important words to learn are iachida, which is sort of the equivalent of like slange in Scotch Gaelic. So it's like, to your health. It's a cheers, toast. So to everyone at home, I hope you're enjoying these whiskies and iachida.
Iachida. Cheers. Thank you so much, David. A Welsh lesson as well.
Yeah.
The night keeps on moving. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, David. Cheers.
How wonderful.
Iachida.
Iachida. Every day is a school day, as they say. Amazing. Shall we see if our next guest is ready? So we are going to go all the way over to the island of Ireland this time for our dram number 4, which is a Teeling Single Grain. Let's bring the namesake of our most recent winner in, Robert. Hi, Robert. How are you doing?
Hi, Christy. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I mean, thank you for hanging around and waiting. I mean, this is a bumper tasting this evening.
It's usually not this long that you guys have to wait around for.
No, it's totally fine. I have been having a couple of whiskies to enjoy. So, I mean, can't complain. Could be harder nights at work.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this is a pretty good time right now. Got drams, you've got people, we've got prizes.
Great cap game in the background there.
Well, I was actually going to say I feel a little bit bad looking at Christy's background because I spent so much time worrying about branding that I kind of just didn't think of the Christmas stuff. So now I kind of feel really bad, like Christmas lights. I mean, that just goes above and beyond.
Well, I am normally in front of my whiskey cabinet, but I'm also upset because my Christmas lights are fading fast. I need to get some more batteries for them, but the ones around my neck are quite bright. So.
Did you take them off the tree?
No. Well, I have these lights in my regular trees, not the Christmas tree, just the regular.
Yes, quickly. It's 4 and 6 time.
Wrap myself up.
That's what I would have had to do. There's not much in here. We just moved into a new house, and I'm like, how can I be Christmassy? I'd have to rob it off the tree. No, that won't go down so well.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So we're going to wave goodbye to Andy for now, but do dram along. We'll catch you again in a sec. Off he goes. Off he goes. So, Robert, we've gone to Scotland. We've gone to Wales. Now we're over in Dublin. But before we get on to the whiskey, tell us a bit about you. What's your background in whiskey? How has your life led you to this point with Teeling?
Yeah, I mean, so you might be able to tell I'm Australian. So I made the mistake about 10 years ago of falling in love with Irish whiskey and an Irish girl.
Oh.
So I'm trapped. I'm here to stay. No, I'm just kidding. I absolutely love it. Ireland's home for us and has been for a while. I have only ever been a bartender. I started bartending at 18 and never stopped. And I kind of both professionally and personally passionate about whiskey and cocktails and whiskey cocktails.
Yeah.
So did a lot of work, ended up working in a Scotch whiskey bar, and the owner was really sound. He said to me, do you want to learn more about whiskey? It was Scotch at that time. And I was like, oh, of course, I'd always love to learn more. And he allowed me to try a different whiskey off the back bar every night of the week and start a tasting journal.
Amazing.
So that's how I developed a lot of love. And then I moved to Ireland and was like, I mean, I think I like Irish more than Scotch. And I know, sorry.
There's a place in our heart for everyone. That's when it comes to whiskey, everyone's a winner.
True. No, I do love whiskey from all over the world. But yeah, I mean, Irish has that place in my heart.
Amazing. So Teeling, I feel like when we talk about Teeling, they're kind of like one of the old school new producers. So they're definitely in this new wave of Irish whiskey, but one of the ones that really kicked it all off, kind of.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that. I mean, like you look at the materials, like the Teeling family has links to Dublin as far back as the 1700s. The immediate family have been distilling in Ireland since the 1980s, but the Teeling Whiskey Company, the whiskey with the family name on, has only been around since 2012 and very much looks towards the modern and future of Irish whiskey, challenging the expectations around what people look at as Irish whiskey and whiskey in general.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So today we are tasting a single grain. So up until this point, we've been all about the malt. Tell us what is single. I mean, I love single grain whiskey. Right. Anyone who knows me and has heard me talk about whiskey pretty much ever knows that single grain has a real strong place in my heart. But give us a quick run through about how it's different and what it is.
Yeah, of course. So I guess my introductory kind of breakdown for the people that come into our distillery is just put a full stop between single and grain. Like the single, we all know what single means: single malt, single grain, single pot still. That single prefix just means from one distillery.
Yep.
And grain is a column distilled product, any combination of grain that isn't solely malted barley. Obviously, there's sub rules like 30% and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, structurally, it has a lot more in common with American whiskeys, especially for us, than it does, say, other categories like single pot still or single malt. So this one specifically has a lot in common with American bourbon.
Yeah. No, this is very cool. And I think it's so true. When you taste a bourbon and you get a lot of those corn notes coming through. I mean, I don't know if you can tell us much about the mash bill, so the recipe of this one at this very raw ingredient stage. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. So this is 95% corn and 5% malted barley. So think of it as a predominantly corn-based whiskey. As you probably know, a lot of people probably know that 5% malted barley will just help kickstart the fermentation process. But being such a small quantity, like 5%, you're not really going to get too much of that flavor impact. You want to go for that corn.
Yeah, amazing. So bourbon vibes for sure. We've already got some amazing comments coming in, by the way. Just a shout out to Richard Francis. We've been to their distillery and the tour is fantastic, which is amazing. Steve Common Williams is getting some summer wheat growing in the fields mixed with strawberry lace. Love it. That is a great one.
I love the more esoteric tasting notes, like the real, like ones that that no one else could possibly get. It's so unique to that one person. They're real cool.
Yeah, I love it. We've got a question for you, actually, and this is a reminder. We've not had many questions come through yet, but this is from Nigel, and I think this is a really good point, and this talks a lot about the history of Irish whiskey, really. I'm confused. If the modern company dates from 2012, how come a 13-year-old whiskey?
Yeah, exactly. So the immediate family had been distilling in Ireland since the 1980s. So they had previous distilleries were producing products at those previous distilleries. And basically what happened was Beam Suntory came to Ireland and said, can we have those? Jack and Stephen Teeling, the guys that created the Teeling Whiskey Company, said, sure, if we can have the whiskey. So they moved tens of thousands of barrels down the road and started the Teeling Whiskey Company with stocks from the family's previous distilleries. So yeah, we have a 13-year-old single grain. We have a 38-year-old single malt. And we also have some young stuff from the new distillery that was opened in 2015, the first new distillery in Dublin in 125 years.
And this, I think, is what's so cool. So the history of Irish whiskey, which you all know about way more than me, how historically there have been so few of them. And now with this new renaissance, that as the spirits comes of age, a lot of people will release whiskey maybe in the style of a future intended bottling, or just to get the business going as well. There's lots of reasons for doing it, but lots of people do it, and it's really interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of new spirit coming from Ireland soon as well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, if you go back as short a period of time as 1976, there were 2 distilleries in Ireland. 1993, there were 4. 2015 with Teeling, there were 6. Today, there's 40. And yeah, it's a rapid renaissance, like you said, a revival, a renaissance, whatever word you want to call it. But for us specifically, yeah, you put the nail on the head. For us right now, it's a really exciting time as we begin the integration process between stocks from the family's previous distilleries and the whiskey from the new distillery, and see how that flavor profile fits into our existing flavor profile.
Well, I am super excited to get into this flavor profile. I've actually got another question for you first.
Of course.
They're coming in thick and fast now, and then we'll get into the whiskey itself, because I've also seen some prize-winning tasting notes. This is from Richard. What is Robert's favourite whiskey cocktail, and which is a really unusual one? So some cocktail questions for you here.
Oh, okay. Favorite cocktail with this one specifically is probably a julep.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, taking the bourbon vibes. I love mint. It's like a weed over here. It's everywhere. We always have some, so it's readily available in the back garden. So nice and simple cocktail, predominantly corn-based whiskey. We'll talk about, what sets it apart from a bourbon specifically and how it's not as sweet. A little bit of sugar and then mint. Super simple, crushed ice, churned, great, spring, summer cocktail. But right now, like given the time of year, you can't go past an Irish coffee. Teeling small batch Irish coffee, freshly brewed coffee, locally sourced, obviously, a bit of stout syrup and fresh Irish cream. I mean, I'm going to have one after this.
Cannot go wrong. Right, okay. I'm going to read a couple of tasting notes that I love, and then we'll get you to taste the whiskey with us. So, Jeremy Anderson, toasted jam tortilla sandwich dipped in creme anglaise with a sprinkle of cinnamon. That's got to be a prize-winning tasting note right there. Email us, Jeremy. So hi@pourandsip.com. I love it. And then Paul. Oh, this is making me really hungry. You're hunkering after an Irish coffee. I just want all the dessert now. So this is from Paul Jackson. This one is like a dessert of strawberry jelly, honey drizzled vanilla ice cream, cinnamon rolls with a side of bourbon. We love it.
Amazing.
Awesome. So talk us through this whiskey. I feel like I've talked a lot. Let's taste it.
Of course. So yeah, I mean, for those that do know Teeling might recognize this one. This is where the gap in the shelf over there is from. So this is our single grain. It's our core single grain. And the reason I bring it up is, I guess as you can see behind me, we release a lot of whiskeys, but they kind of all boil back to the styles. So it's single grain, single malt, single pot still, blended Irish whiskey, and peated single malt.
Yeah.
And this one, won world's best single grain in 2013. So we're like, okay, we're onto a winner there. So we didn't experiment a lot within the single grain category for a while. And then this one released this year after an MPD meeting. The whole Teeling team got together and we're chatting, like, what could we release this? Tasted a bunch of whiskeys that were in various stages of production. And a lot of us were like, I mean, that is fantastic. And it really goes to show how just small variations in the cask manager program can completely take a whiskey in a whole new direction. So the only difference between these two products, this, as some of you may be aware, same mash bill, 95% grain, 5% malt, fully matured in Californian Cabernet Sauvignon, whereas the one we're trying tonight, same mash bill, but instead aged for 9 years in ex-bourbon and 4 years in Bordeaux. So it really boils down to old world red wine versus new world red wine. So this has a lot more tannic earthiness and richer kind of structure to it. This one, the old one, or sorry, I shouldn't say the old one, but this one,
the original,
the OG, has a little bit more kind of ripe red fruits, detonated coconut, things like that. Whereas this lot kind of richer, darker, earthier, like a lot more tannic, a lot more what you expect when you think of a Bordeaux French Cabernet Sauvignon. Like really, really rich.
Yeah. I mean, this is so interesting to me. I don't know a lot about wine. I should know more about wine than I do, but I don't know a lot. But does the old world, new world difference, is it just flavor? Or is it like the intensity of it? Does it change how active the casks are? Like how does that work?
I mean, it's a lot of aspects, and you know, you've got to take in all aspects of the production process, from terroir to maturation to geography to climate. You know, all of these things, you know, come into consideration. You know, certain parts of France, especially Bordeaux, are going to be a little bit different to California, Southern California, Northern California. So yeah, just in terms of the styles they produce, California Napa Cab Savs tend to be on the lighter, sweeter, richer style. Richer is probably a bad word, but fruitier style. Whereas your Bordeaux is that kind of, think of when you have that glass of Cabernet Sauvignon, gives you a little extra lipstick.
Yes.
Color, that tannic quality, that real kind of, it just pulls the moisture off your palate. That's what I think of when I think of French red wine.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. Okay, I've been nosing it. Talk us through the nose and the palate. I'm gonna have a little sip as well because it's luring me in. I love single grain.
Of course. So this is a non-chill filtered. So if you want to feel this whiskey, just tip your finger in and literally feel how viscous and silky this whiskey is. So obviously that's going to contribute to the mouthfeel, but on the nose, I always get the sweeter corn-based styles. I get a little bit of the, you know, cranberry, strawberries kind of fruits, but I get vanilla, butterscotch, toffee, you know, the real kind of that sweet corn-based distillate. So on the nose, I get a little bit of that. It's 50% ABV, so it's going to be a little stronger than your average.
We have jumped up a little bit for sure.
Yeah, I mean, our core single grains or core whiskies are all 46, but this one needed that little extra step up. On the palate, I think we get a lot more of that fruit, a lot more of those tannins, a lot more of that earthiness. The wood doesn't really come into play, I think, until the finish. I think you start to get that sawdust, that dryness, maybe kind of a little bit of kind of cinnamon, something like that on the finish. But I think, yeah, it starts sweet and then ends quite dry, quite almost astringent. But
yeah, it's interesting. Hilariously, I don't know if I have it on my desk still. I used your Teeling Single Grain as an example at work the other day. Here we are, right here. There you go. You can see it. And having tasted it really recently, I can really feel the difference between them. This one feels, I don't know if bolder is the right word. It's sort of it's almost shouting a little bit louder with its flavour. I
would think so too. Yeah, it's funny too because you're talking like a 5 to 7 year old fully matured red wine versus say a 4-year finish. Yeah. I think the red wine influence is much more pronounced on the 13-year-old, and it comes across quite kind of impactful. And I think that's what makes a lot of it fun now for us, is starting to compare these. You know, taking the small batch and some of the collaborations that we've done and trying them side by side, so you can really see what that minimal difference is, and minimal in the sake of this idea of finishing, but yeah, you can really see the impact that short 6 to 4 year period can have on whiskeys. It's huge. Now I have got what seems like 1,000 tasting notes coming. I'm gonna start to read some out. And Robert, you stop me when you think there's an award winner here. Okay. This is from Yoza. Nose of an orchard of apples, rows of berries on summer days gone by, taste of delicate summer, fruits with spice, finish of oak barrel, and nice but warming. That was very poetic Very poetic, but I feel like I can't give it to the first one we hear.
That's true. I'm literally like scrolling down. I quite like this one. It's like alcohol stewed cherries over a hot stove prior to putting them into your pudding. From Jonathan Gumbrel.
Amazing.
I feel like this is a chef right here.
Yeah.
You can choose multiple, by the way. It's very exciting.
Okay.
Okay, here's one from Ian Slack. Tingly, spicy wood pixie dancing through my nose, tickling and the poking of fruit trees. Then the taste is soft, smooth honey. But wait, that pixie has a flame that warms the tongue and leaves me wanting more.
I mean, that wins.
That's got to win a prize. A prize to Ian. That's a really good one.
I mean, I thought I was sold at the first pixie, but the pixie came back. I'm like, oh man, now you've taken me on a journey.
Amazing. Right. Time has run away with us. I can't understand how this has happened, but I think it's time for your question. What
okay, of course.
Do we have?
Apologies. I got another large number here, but I'll try and narrow it down. So, over how many casks do we now have in the Teeling whiskey warehouses?
I like it. So, how many casks do you have in the Teeling warehouses?
Yeah, I'll give you a hint. The last three numbers are zeros.
Okay, so we're looking at 1,000 plus here, 1,000 plus. All right, I don't have my snazzy timer, but I am going to say, let's have your time starting now, and I will wait.
Oh, wow.
Andy's cheating. Andy sent us all a little message, cheating away. He knows. It's good. Does he win? Andy wants to win the bottom. Not sure it's allowed, Andy. But yes, okay. I feel like we probably have another 20 seconds or so, I'm going to guess. But I'm lying in wait for Jess, who is our pixie behind the scenes.
Nice.
Keeping an eye out for everyone's guesses. And if we don't have an exact one, we'll go for the nearest. This is a great question, by the way. And I think it goes to show just, there's a lot of whiskey lying in wait to do its stuff. Yeah,
I mean, it's exciting. I think we can flesh it out a little bit more when we give the answer away. But it's exciting to see the growth from what we were when we started to now. I think definitely can't be underestimated. Even as a mid-sized distillery, similar to Penderyn, we're not in the tens of millions of liters of pure alcohol per year.
Yeah. Okay, we have a winner. Jonathan Gumbrel's got it dead on. Over 20,000 casks. 20,000 casks.
Yeah, more than double that we ever started with. So yeah, really, really, really exciting to see. When I hadn't been up to the warehouse in obviously over 2 years, so we got to go up there recently for a bit of a staff outing, and mind blowing. Like, we haven't stopped making whiskey during COVID, and exciting to see some of the future products that we release.
That is super cool. So, I mean, how much space do you have? How many casks will we be able to hold all together when you're there?
We had to do a bit of a reorganization. We did have like a POS warehouse. It is no longer a POS warehouse. Like, what do we want? Shirts and hats and things like that? No, move that somewhere else. Let's
the whiskey takes priority.
Yeah. The other one was Ian Wood, our head of maturation, funnily enough, striking name. He came up with this brilliant way to stack our IBCs. So you'd be surprised how much space the IBCs were taking up, especially with so many SKUs. IBCs, basically big plastic square tubs that would take the overflow from a bottling run. You couldn't really stack them, but we're now stacking them in this big racking system. So that takes up. Yeah, think of like supermarket shelves where you get a can from the front and the rest of the cans just slide down. Same kind of concept, but it's
giant whiskies.
Yeah, giant IBCs full of whiskey. So it's hugely impactful when it came to saving space.
I like it. That is super cool. That is so cool. And thank you so much for coming to join us to chat about Teeling and all the wonders of Irish whiskey and red wine finished single grain, which is actually quite unusual, I should point out. We don't see many single grains that have had a finish on them.
No, it's nice to see more and more single grains. We're starting to see a little bit more coming out from both Ireland and Scotland, and good to see a little bit of a fleshing out of the categories. But yeah, thank you very much for having me. It was really, really a pleasure. Great to see you, and hope you have a great Christmas. Everyone has a great Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. I'll bring Andy back briefly. How did you enjoy the single grain, Andy?
Absolutely lovely stuff, and I knew that you were going to take the single grain, Christy.
Yes, Andy
I
knows
knew.
well. When it was like, who wants to chat to who? I was like, single grain. I'm having it. It's mine.
I knew.
Always me. I'm selfish with the single grain. I don't share.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for having
Merry
me.
Christmas,
Thank you for
Rob.
joining us.
Bye. Oh, right, Andy. Four down. Four
Okay.
down, one to go. But
Yes.
we have a very, very, very important housekeeping announcement to make because there is one whole extra competition that we only mentioned at the start and haven't really mentioned it again. Our bad.
Yes, definitely. We were meant to mention it before. So, guys, this is really exciting.
Yes.
First person to guess, we are asking you guys to win a free Pour and Sip Christmas box. Name a distillery that is going to feature in our January box.
Yes.
Pour and Sip.
So this is pure guesswork now. And this is us also thinking like, it's Christmas. It's the time of like giving and sharing and gifting and, let's face it, great food and booze. So why not win one of our welcome packs that you can then share with someone? It's kind of like a free Christmas gift for you and for them. One to tick off your list.
Absolutely. So tell us a brand that might feature, will definitely feature. But it could be how many distilleries are there in the world? And we really are genuinely have tried everything in the world. So it could be anyone.
Could be any of them. And you've got until the end of the tasting and we've got one more guest. So have a little guest in the next 20 minutes or so while we have a chat with Gordon.
Yes.
And then you could win a bonus box, shall we say.
I'm loving Richard Jones. He says Andy is looking like the uncle at Christmas who's had one too many.
Never.
Okay,
let's bring him in. And we're going to have matching festive hats right now. I'm very excited for it. Here's Gordon.
Now, I don't know what it means if you go left or right or backwards. I don't know. Is there some sort of hidden meaning about the Santa?
There's a secret code.
Is yours glittery? That's the question here. Look at this.
No, I'm outdone with the glittery Santa hat. Listen, can I just say it's been a great night. My family are watching Last Christmas on Netflix. I thought I am getting down here for 7:30 with that lovely whiskey pack, and it's been such a great journey tonight. So
I was going to apologise for you going last.
I know.
It does seem
I can
like
see the Santa glow, but I'm loving it.
Exactly. It's a Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Right. Merry Christmas. I'm going to leave you in Andy's very capable hands, and I'm going to sip along with Tamdhu off screen. So see you guys in a bit.
See you soon, Christy.
Bye, Christy. Hello.
So,
hello,
here
everyone.
we are. Talk to us a bit about yourself, Gordon, and how you found yourself in your current role.
What am I doing at the bottom of my garden in a shed, speaking to people I've never met before, drinking? I know. I am at the bottom of my garden, by the way. But I am Ian McLeod, who owned Tamdhu Glengoyne, soon to be running Rosebank Distillery in the Lowlands, and we also own Edinburgh Gin. So I am the experiential ambassador for Ian McLeod Distillers. And don't ask what that means. Just it's about stories and bringing slightly alternative tastings and bringing a bit of fun to the whole proceedings of tasting rather than just doing the normal. So yes, it's going out and about and shows at the Fringe or whatever. We do. I do whiskey history stories and whatnot. And I love hearing about Teeling and hearing about the Irish distilleries. The great stories there, wonderful. I mean, where I'm sitting right now in Glasgow, Irish whiskey was more popular in Glasgow than Scotch 150, 60 years ago. So there's great stories in whiskey, and I'm just here to try and bring them out.
Absolutely. Well, talking of stories, I mean, Tamdhu has a really, really interesting history that goes back many, many years. So talk to us a bit about that.
It was. And for those students out there like their whiskey history, designed by really the grandfather of Scotch whiskey, not often talked about. Now, I like to name check the wonderful Charles Doig. He of the Doig ventilator, the pagoda chimney that is the symbol of our industry in Scotland. And Charles Doig designed about 57 distilleries. Tamdhu was one of his most advanced distilleries, built in 1897 using gravity principles. And it was one of the 40 built really in that decade, that booming decade of the 1890s. And it would not have been built where it was by the River Spey if it wasn't for the railway. So it's one of the railway distilleries of the Victorian boom of the 1890s. And by the way, that was the biggest boom in Scotch whiskey until the one we're in today.
I know. Yeah, that's amazing. So we're really living through the second boom. It's amazing.
And what again, it's a very, small fact, but again, if you're into your whisky history, Robertson and Baxter, great blenders of the Victorian era, who would become Edrington, who would own Macallan, which, we bought Tamdhu from. William Robertson, the original, founded Tamdhu in 1897, and they sold it about 2 years later. So it's again, he did Bunnahabhain as well. So he's a fantastic guy to look up on. But yeah, it's a wonderful history, Tamdhu, and really comes into its own in the 1970s.
Yeah, and then it was shut for a bit before Ian MacLeod took over it.
Correct. The 1920s, the Great Depression, the Prohibition. There was the big merger with Walkers, Buchanans, and Dewars, and the Mackeys got together to create DCL, which would become Diageo. And well done, loved the Cragganmore at the beginning. But of course, in those lean times, the big guys get together, buy the smaller ones, and close them down to stop overproduction. And that's exactly what Tamdhu befell that fate. Closed down for almost 20 years between the late 1920s and late 1940s. So gets on its feet in the 1950s, and again, not far from Cragganmore, was a wonderful whiskey for blending. I think it was the main malt in Famous Grouse at Tamdhu for a long while. And our first single cask, first single malt release at Tamdhu was 1976.
Okay.
So like most whiskies in those eras, virtually every whiskey created was getting sold into blends.
Yeah.
Single malt as a category really only starts to get off its feet. Well, I suppose Glenfiddich started it in '63, but 10 years later, more people get in the action, and Tamdhu was '76. So yeah, it's been going great guns. 2 stills in the early '70s, doubled to 4 stills, and doubled to 6 stills. The boom of the late '60s, early '70s, Tamdhu was right in at the white hot action. So we've 6 stills at Tamdhu, and part of my gig as well, it's not open to the public, so you cannot come to Tamdhu for a tour unless you manage to grab a ticket, a golden ticket. Think it was like the Willy Wonka
of distillery tours.
Speyside Festival, sold for 2 days of the year, and Sandy McIntyre, who supplied the question I'll do later on, by the way, I didn't get any right. Sandy McIntyre, the manager, trained me up to be one of the guides to take people around the Speyside. So I've done that last 3 years while it was on.
That's awesome. So talking about Tamdhu as well, Tamdhu matures exclusively in sherry casks.
Correct.
That's the absolute, but it's got lots of links to Spain going back in history as well. So
it's amazing. Yes, I think it was the last Speyside Festival we actually had the order book from 1897, and there on the book was an order from sherry casks from Spain. So from day one, these casks were getting brought in, and I was lucky enough to be sent down in 2019 to Umberto Domecq and to Tabasa Bodega to see the coopers make the casks for us. They're handcrafted, made specifically for Tamdhu, and 6 years process. It's extraordinary to see, to be inside a cooperage. I'm just so grateful in a way that the health and safety laws in southern Spain aren't as stringent as they maybe would be in Scotland, because you get right inside the kiln virtually as they're firing up the cask to bend the wood in, and you're standing right there with the singed face. And so it's amazing. Then we go and see the bodegas where it gets filled with sherry and just sits there for a couple of years. So time to dry the staves, make the cask, and then fill it with sherry, get it onto a ferry and send it to Scotland. It's a 6-year process. They cost about £1,000, about £1,000. So they're made bespoke for E. MacLeod.
Wow, that's really
cool. Full maturation. We put them into those Oloroso sherry casks for a full maturation. Yeah. And I was very lucky, and I do it to people, very lucky at one of the Speyside festivals, the lorry came from the port of Glasgow, or Port Glasgow. It came into the distillery, 50 casks from Spain. Just an amazing aroma. When I'm at the wee smell of this whiskey, I'm immediately transported back.
That's a shame. I mean, I'm not going to have that note that's going to take me back to that particular moment in time that you managed to get.
I know, that's very lucky in a way. Yeah,
I mean, smelling that, this is a great dram to finish with. Not only when we're talking about this being batch strength, being bottled at 56.8%. So guys, we've really jumped dramatically for the last dram of the evening. So go easy with this one and talk to us a bit about this dram, Gordon.
Yes, it's a combination of all sherry casks, but of course, all sherry casks are not all the same. You've got European oak sherry casks and American oak sherry casks, and this is a combination of both. And we'll empty them and bring them back and refill them. So there's 3 types of maturation going on in this whiskey here. Beside me is batch 5, a little more heavier on the European oak sherry casks. This is slightly leading with the American oak sherry casks. And that American oak, the Quercus alba, will give you a lot of lovely vanillins there, and they would give you vanilla. So really, you look for the kind of warming, hot mug of steaming vanilla.
Yeah.
And when people are doing the tasting notes, I just got to take it to the next level. If you're doing a tasting note, because my family are watching Netflix, I just wonder what you may be watching when you're drinking this. You know, it's kind of warming. So what movie or Christmas film would warm you up as you're drinking or Tamdhu?
For me, this is sitting watching It's a Wonderful Life for me at Christmas time. The best Christmas film for anybody who's asking. It's not debatable.
And you can actually dilute it with your tears at the last couple of minutes of the movie.
Just at the end.
So
when they ring the bell, when the angel rings the bell, we dilute it. That's what's going to be, and it's particularly good water, isn't it, with your tears? A little bit of salt content to add to kind of really kind of open the dram up.
That's right, because there's lots of there's a lovely oiliness there to this whiskey, and I get the on the palate, or so I should on the nose, a lovely bit of Christmas morning with my marmalade and my toast, a lot of buttery, marmalade, orange zesty there as well.
Interestingly for me, given that it's 56.8%, when nosing it, I mean, and I love batch strength whiskey. I love my whiskey to be at really high percentages, but it doesn't hit you that much. It's really quite the nose is for me, it's quite subtle, bizarrely, considering the alcohol percentage. I've not tried it yet, and I assume.
Yeah, you'd be expecting a traditional nose prickle, as they call it.
Yeah,
like the top of the bridge of the nose. It's not there, and that will be, I hope, backed up by the creamy texture. Even just think about what it's doing to your palate and mouthfeel. It's quite creamy, and you can move it around, and it's because of that alcohol content. You might think it'll burn me, but it won't. It's not burning your nose.
Not
Let's
at all.
have a try. Slange.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Thanks,
everybody.
Hanging on to the last.
Dram of the night.
Actually, a wonderful creaminess to it. We talked about viscous in the last whiskey, but a lovely viscosity and creaminess to it. This is unchill filtered as well, but there's no burn. I'm not getting the nip up the side of the tongue or the palate. So smooth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving that meaty sherry note that I'm getting from it. It's just so rich and viscous, as you're saying, that kind of wonderful kind of that it's a meaty sherry note. This isn't one of the, for me, it's not one of those kinds of really sweet sherry. It's really meaty, and I absolutely love it. Lots of sultanas, raisins kind of vibe, Christmas cake kind of vibe. It's just absolutely wonderful. The finish is really lingering on, and it's that wonderful star anise kind of pepper notes at the back of the palate that's coming. It's absolutely stunning stuff. That, for me, is, if anyone wanted to know, is my absolute favorite type of whiskey. This one, that really powerful sherry whiskey. It reminds me of something like an Edredau, a cask strength whiskey. It's got that kind of vibe to it for me. Yeah. And it's just absolutely stunning stuff. I am going to read out a few tasting notes quickly. Just because we need to read out some prizes, and we need to give away some prizes. I want to. Jeffster, I love Tamdhu. Great whiskey, and I upcycle their bottles into table lamps. Actually, Jeffster's not the first person to mention how amazing the bottle design is for Tamdhu. That's right. Actually,
it was based on my physique. You know, that lovely. No, it wasn't. But it's beautiful. And that, again, very quickly, this is the E. McLeod era. Anything else that's not the shape is the Edrington era. So that's how you can date 2012 onwards.
Okay, that's really interesting. And I think that's absolutely been a great decision because it's just such a wonderful bottle design. That kind of, it's so sleek.
Yeah.
It's really incredible stuff. But he can't throw the bottles away because they're so arty. So there you go. DS007. My father-in-law first tasted Tamdhu on a distillery visit in 1976, and it's still his favourite whiskey.
Oh, wonderful. Go. And that's not only the single malt was released 76, but that was the visitor centre opened up in that year as well. So he was one of the first.
One of the first. There you go. Rob Bester, do love a Tamdhu bottle. Great design. So this seems to be a theme here that everybody is appreciative of the design. However, there's no good having a great looking bottle with terrible liquid inside of it. So as we're all seeing with the tasting notes, that people are really enjoying this. Malcolm Tucker, the nose on the Tamdhu, oak cask filled with dried raisins, currants and sultanas. Green tea is green, the experiential ambassador for whiskey. Now that's what he wants on his t-shirt. DH, very sweet, dryish wood notes, walnut shells and coffee, very peppery finish, chocolate and chili and dates. Absolutely. Alistair Taft, nose like the old chocolate-covered Highland toffee bar. I'm not sure I've ever had that. Steve Coleman Williams. So Tamdhu. Okay, yeah. So I like this one. Steve Coleman Williams. So Tamdhu, cherry Coke with a lovely, rich espresso. Lovely tasting note. Eddie Marshall, soaring malted loaf smothered with salted Lurpak butter and drizzled with golden syrup. Loving that. There are some great ones here. Reverend Kevin Wright, I'm getting old leather satchels like 1960s primary school. Very comforting and nostalgic. I love nostalgic tasting notes that bring you back to a time and place in your youth. So Reverend Kevin Wright, that's an absolute prize for you. Please get in touch. hi@pourandsip.com. Paul Jackson, explosive fruity dynamite in the mouth, followed by frothy topped coffee buttercream, spiced fruit and nut cake. Boom. That's quite a mouthful to read out, but that's a wonderful tasting note. Andrew Easbury, Werther's Originals with a shot of cinnamon and coffee. Yours are huge. Tamdhu spice overwhelming on the nose at first, then woody, then vanilla and coffee in the background. But I have to search for them. Taste for me is so spicy, but then citrusy and more coffee. Just as a note, would you add water to this dram at that strength? There it is.
I have, yes. I do. Anything, most whiskies I like a little bit of water to. You know, there's not a coincidence in some of the great whiskey bars that I used to go to. There's always a copper tap at the end of the bar. A little bit of water in there, especially higher strength, just disperses the oils and brings out the flavour, gets those congeners moving around a little bit. And yeah, but again, blind tasting, you'd be surprised. This being 56.8, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
A little bit of water does.
It doesn't drink, particularly on the nose. I'm very surprised at how subtle it is on the nose in terms of that prickle that you said is really, it's not overpowering at all. Malcolm Tucker, taste, chocolate-covered raisin, followed by cinnamon and cloves. Richie Salter, Wonka bar, woodbines and buttered fruit toast. Paul Jackson saying sherry on the ferry, due to your previous experiences. Jim Smith, strong in alcohol, strong in taste. Absolutely. This is definitely, yes. It's
a good one to finish. It really is. Well, that strength, it's a great one. Especially you started at Speyside with Cragganmore, and we're just round the corner.
And I mean, this is a great dram to finish this night with. I have to say, this is one that packs a punch. I wouldn't personally start the night with a dram like this. This is definitely your closer for me. This is your nightcap.
And what's quite nice, it's an annual release. So remember, this is batch 6. I've got batch 5 there, and it's a way of the master blender experimenting with some, American oaks or European oaks. I just thought I got some down for you here as a little exclusive. This was something we did. And this is single casks from Tamdhu. Look at the colour of this one. This is that's European oak, for example, and this is American oak. So you can see completely different colours. All obviously sherry casks made in Jerez, and that you start putting in your spirit into these, and then the master blender can have more of one and the other, and that's what this batch series is about. Just having a bit of fun and have a wee bit of experiment, but it's slightly more American oak in this one.
Yeah,
and that gives you that lovely creamy vanillas, but it is sherry casks. So you do get the dried fruit. You do get that sort of spice, and with the Tamdhu, it's a non-age statement between about 8 and 12. You get that new make in there as well. That balance, I think, was mentioned earlier on. So it's a great series of jams to go and seek out.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. I do recommend for anybody who's never been to go to Jerez. It is just one of the most awesome places. And if you're interested in sherry, it's just absolutely incredible. A glass of sherry is about €1 over there, and they pour it out from the cask. It's just absolutely incredible stuff. And it's really amazing to see it and to go to the distilleries as well, because you really kind of learn how important it is to the whiskey industry and all these drams that we're drinking tonight that are sherry influenced and sherry casks. Reverend Kevin Wright, this one has blown me away, but I can't put my finger on why. I think it's somehow nostalgic. Absolutely. Paul Jackson, I never add water, but this one needs just a little drop. Absolutely. Steve Coleman Williams, I have this in a valid Norland glass. The colour is wonderful. David Stanton, palette, Christmas cake, cinnamon, summer berry pudding with a dollop of cream. Guy Wilson saying his favourite Christmas film is Die Hard. It's a great film, but I'm unfortunately going to tell you, Guy Wilson, it's not the best Christmas film, because that is It's a Wonderful Life. Reverend Kevin Wright, water added. Kevin Narayan saying it's Gremlins. Again, a great film, Kevin. It really is.
Don't add water.
But unfortunately, it's definitely It's a Wonderful Life. Michael Smith saying this should be drunk with the film Last Christmas. Well, Gordon, you had a chance to drink this dram watching Last Christmas. You chose to be down here with us.
You guys. You stole my heart.
Yeah, Jester, the legs on this are amazing. Absolutely. This is non-chill filtered, no added colouring. This is absolutely incredible.
I should have said that, of course, it's a total natural colour. You just put it in these sherry casks. And I should say these sherry casks arrive, they're not flat packed. They are put on the ferry, fully made. So you're actually transporting more air than wood. But that's why it's so expensive. But you do it the best. We do it the best way you can possibly can. And it is, you mentioned old school earlier on. This is quite old school. You get great spirit and just put it in the sherry casks. And I love the finishes we've had tonight, but this is the full maturation in a sherry cask. End of.
And you can taste the difference like instantly that this has been full maturation. It's just that sherry element is just, it's bang, it's right there. Jean Marshall, pear drops with hot orange juice with ginger and cloves. That sounds like something you drink if you have a cold, I have to say, but it does sound lovely. Jean, you can have a prize for that one. That's a great tasting note. Please email us. Rob Bester, vanilla latte on the nose before being thwacked in the face by an oak branch to taste. Hey, interesting. Eddie Marshall, ginger cake dunked in cinnamon spiced hot chocolate with a drizzle of salted caramel. Mike Pizarro, it's too subtle a dram for Bad Santa, which is his favourite, second favourite Christmas movie. Paul Jackson, explosive fruity dynamite in the mouth, followed by frothy topped coffee, buttercream, spiced fruit, and nut cake. Wow. Paul, that is absolutely a prize for that tasting note. That's absolutely wonderful stuff. Steve Coleman Williams, this would go well with roasted gammon on Boxing Day whilst watching Die Hard. Yes, it is a Christmas movie. Yeah, it's definitely a Christmas movie. It's not the best one, though. There are so many notes coming in that I'm going to just have a look and pick one more winner. I like this one. Christopher McCann knows this cherry jammy Dodgers with a palette of marshmallow fluff and Croft Original takes me back to my grandma's Sunday lunches. She couldn't cook. Don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. Christopher,
love
you. Absolutely. Christopher, that's a prize for you. Righty ho. Mike Pizarro, what an amazing night. Seriously, not a dram below superb this evening. I think the And is my favourite. Nigel, Mike, you've gone well ahead of us, but it's by a whisker over the Cragganmore and Tamdhu. I'm going to invite Christy back before that we get into that debate about which has been the best one of the evening. Christy, you're on mute.
I mean, how long have we got to go through this bloody work from home scenario? I'm still on mute.
You're on mute.
You're on mute. Did I miss our quiz question?
Pardon?
Did I miss our quiz question?
Oh my lord, the quiz question.
The quiz question. We need.
I'm just rushing because I see that Christy, everyone is already saying their favourite of the box.
Oh, I know. Hold on, folks. No, we need the all-important quiz question from Gordon. That's an amazing tasting, by the way, Gordon. Really.
I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. It's been great. Listen, the quiz question comes direct from Sandy McIntyre, the very colourful manager of Tamdhu. I'll give you a quick clue. We make, or last year in 2021, we made 3.2 million litres of spirit. Okay? But how many tons of barley did we go through to make 3.2 million litres of spirit?
Oh, that is a question. That is a great question.
Approximately, and it can vary, approximately, you've got a minute to do this, you get, for 1 ton of barley, you can get about 400 to 420 litres of spirit.
That is great trivia as well. Right, let's do it.
That's the end of the night. That's right. I'll discuss I have versus
calculators out, thinking caps on.
It doesn't work.
It's a maths challenge. We've gone to like GCSE maths. Probably harder than.
Right, are we starting?
Yeah, we're starting.
Bam, everybody.
I thought you were going to do the tunes again.
I was waiting for it. I thought you were playing a wee.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
This is a re-recording of this. They also sent out the rights to it. on
It's really
Spotify.
bad because
This is by the Orchestra Cinematique.
Oh, I like it.
very well known up here.
Need to dance on.
Boom.
Okay.
If you want to become a distiller out there, your biggest outlay will be buying this barley because it's not cheap. And you
Is
see how
barley
many-
more expensive than casks?
Yeah.
Yes,
Ooh.
Oh, there you go. That could have been a good question.
because
That
you
would
can
be a
buy
good
these
question.
casks and they'll sit there for 10, 12, 20
That's true.
years. But you've got to buy barley virtually every week.
And also cost per wear of barley, one and done. Cost per wear of a cask, 2, 3, 4 times for years.
That's right. That's right. So it's
Right.
just
I'm taking it, and this may be the first question. This no one's answered as quickly for this one. Let's be honest. This
no.
It's the hardest one.
it's definitely the hardest
Yeah.
one.
Tons
Definitely
of
the
malt
hardest
used in
one.
2021. I've got Sandy's. I'll not hold these. Yeah. That's a tough one. I
Definitely
didn't
the
know
hardest
this. That's Sandy. And while people are guessing, Tamdhu is very famous for its Saladin maltings. They supplied a lot of the malt for the whole Highland and Speyside region, along with Highland Park. They were demolished in 2019. If anyone's been to Tamdhu previously, like the man's father, they're gone now.
Ah.
There was going to be far too much money and effort to try and rescue them after the closure from
Yeah.
Eglinton. So we've now got other silos that hold the malt that we bring in.
That's
We
good.
do have a winner.
We've got a winner. We've got a winner. Whoop,
The
whoop,
winner
whoop.
is George Smith, who said 7,850 tons.
That's pretty close because I
Which
put the
was pretty
exact
close.
answer. Do you have the exact answer there?
I do.
Tell
The
us.
correct answer is 7,773.489.
That
That's
was
pretty
close.
precise. Pretty precise.
A good calculator.
Good
Yeah.
quizzing. Good quizzing.
That is George Smith. That is very impressive. I've got to be honest. I've been impressed with absolutely everybody who's answered these questions
That's been good.
so quickly during this day. So Steve Coleman Williams says, "With 5 drams down, give us a chance."
This is true. This is true.
Oh, I know. I've got hat off. It's so hot. Yes. Wonderful.
It's done.
Thank you very much, Gordon, for joining
Gordon, this
us.
has been
That's
such
been
a joy. Such a joy to have
absolute
you.
joy.
Oh, no, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. No, I've enjoyed the whole night. Thanks. And hello to everyone out there. But I really thoroughly enjoyed it tonight. Well done.
Fabulous. Cheers to you. Merry Christmas.
Flange
Cheers.
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas. See you later.
Right, before we go, so we're going to have to, because I'm aware of time, we've gone over our allocation.
We've gone over. We've gone over. Too much chat. Too much good stuff.
All-important question, and I think this one is going to be harder than any box we've ever done because there's 5 drams to choose from all of tonight, and I've got to say, there's nothing that's been not brilliant for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, guys, please let us know what your favourites and the last of this year in 2021 has been from this box. Christy, you.
I have to pick my favourite.
Yes, of
That's
course. And there's no
Okay.
pressure this time because none of our guests are with us.
Well, some of them are. I can see
Oh.
one in the green room still.
Oh, okay. I see.
You see. Do you know what? I truly have enjoyed them all, but my heart does lie with single grain. It's
Teeling.
true. It's true. Single grain till I die.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I mean, what about you?
I've really enjoyed them all tonight. I have to say though, that Tamdhu is just
Tamdhu.
right up my street. That
Exquisite.
is it blows my socks off that.
It's really great.
I will definitely be buying a bottle of that one. I have to say. I mean, I should have tried and cheated, set up on a kind of alter ego and kind of guessed the right answer instantly, having already seen the right answer.
Yeah.
To get a free bottle of it. But no, definitely the Tamdhu is everything I want from whiskey. Powerful sherry cask, Christmassy, wonderful stuff. So we do have also a winner. I mean, there have been so many winners tonight from the January box
I
winners.
was going to say, we do have one other piece of work to do.
I'm allowed to read this, am I?
Yeah, I'm going to say yeah. I mean, think of this as like a behind-the-scenes sneak
Yes.
peek for January. You'll
Yeah.
have 20% insight and a clue.
I'm going to read it. I hope Giovanna doesn't shout at me during through Slack and just be like, no. So I'm giving her a little moment. Okay, cool. So the January box winners, Michael Smith guessed it with Cadrona, which was
we got a trip to New Zealand.
Yeah, back to New Zealand. Wow, sorry, I was reading out these and suddenly they've posted all the favourites from the boxes. So it's just gone way down. I'm having to scroll back up. And Carlo and Yoza also guessed with Compass Box.
Oh, you've given away 2, Andy. You've given away 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, these are all in bold, I have to be honest.
Okay.
They're all in bold. So well done to you guys. Yoza, you've won a lot today. You've won a prize for a small prize. You've won the January box winner. And you also won Monday morning. You're going for a job interview with Colin Dunn as well. As you said for your taste notes. So
what a night. What a night.
So Michael Smith, Carlo and Yoza, you all guessed right. Thank you very much. Please get in touch with Hi at Pour and Sip. Now,
what are the favourites? Hit me with them. I can't see them, Andy. It got technical difficulties again. It's all on your shoulders. It's all on your shoulders.
Bruce Edwards, all the drams have been. Is that your WhatsApp there? All the drams have been terrific tonight. Although I've saved the Penderyn for another day. So my favourite of the other 4 is Cragganmore with Tamdhu a close second. Craig Jones, Penderyn is definitely my favourite for tonight. Jeremy Anderson, Tamdhu for me. Nigel Gain, can't possibly answer this. They're all superb. Jeffster, Tamdhu. DH, Teeling by a nose. Tamdhu just behind. Reverend Kevin Wright, great evening. Thank you all. Great box. Tamdhu tops the charts for me. Wire Dive, Bill, Cragganmore, Clive Hampton, send the box again. I can't choose. Excellent stuff. Green Tea is Green, very interesting. Muppets Christmas Carol. Now, I do agree with you. Muppets Christmas Carol is a phenomenal Christmas film and probably the one I've seen the most. But I think as a film, It's a Wonderful Life is just the most incredible film. However, I could sing every song from the Muppets Christmas Carol from start to finish without needing to look at the lyrics. It's, absolutely. Jamie Keane, Teeling, followed by Tamdhu. Jason Calvert, Teeling. Gareth Peters, Mine, and Whiskey. There we go for the first by a whisker. Steve Coleman Williams, Cragganmore, Tamdhu. David Stanton, Tamdhu. Stuart McGregor, Cragganmore. Rob Bess, a phenomenal night. Really close between them. A joint win tonight for me between the Cragganmore and the Tamdhu. Gerard McNeely, Cragganmore and Tamdhu joint first. We've got loads coming here. Yoza Hughes, for me, who's been the real winner of tonight, has been Yoza Hughes. For me, Cragganmore. Richard Hughes, Teeling for me. Jim Smith, Tamdhu. Ian Thompson, Cragganmore. Wow. Simon, this is tough. Think the Cragganmore. If you're saying the Cragganmore, which was first on our 2-hour tasting, well remembered. Because
yeah. I mean, there's someone who was sipped, not gulped.
Absolutely. You know, when it comes to Eurovision, Christy, you'd know this, and it's like by the time you've got through all of them, you forget what the first ones are like. I think there's a real stigma to going first, personally.
I mean, you are clearly not a true Eurovision fan.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
We need to have a Eurovision pour and sip party. That's what I'm saying.
Steve Coleman Williams, Cragganmore for me. Malcolm Tucker, Christmas Cake, followed by Cragganmore. Alistair Taff, almost a tie between Penderyn and Teeling, but Teeling takes it. Michael Smith, Christmas Cake and Dark Chocolate, and Medjool Dates, and Cinnamon is the winner. Quite the mouthful. Right, thank you very much, guys. And I've got to tell everybody that in exciting news, since we had our first Pour and Sip exclusive, was it last month?
I think so, November.
We've got another one, Christy.
We've got another one. This is coming up in January.
It's coming up in January. And it is Compass Box, which is incredibly exciting, given that it's not only 5 minutes from my house, but also that Compass Box do the most amazing things. So I am excited to see what Pour and Sip do with Compass Box.
I'm so excited too. And a couple more things to say, just a bit of housekeeping before the end. Our tastings in January, we're back to doing 2. So not quite in full festive spirit. We're going to be back on the 6th and then the 20th, which will be fabulous. So we'll have Happy New Year, New Year's resolutions, all the fun and games to come, which I'm looking forward to. But mark the diaries now, 6th and the 20th.
Yeah, that sounds great. Bruce Edwards is finishing with more Welsh for me to read out. Nadolig Lawin, everyone. I'm assuming that means Merry Christmas.
Well, who knows what you're saying there, Andy? Who knows what you just said? Could have been anything.
So, everybody, we all wish you a Merry Christmas from the Pour and Sip team. Thank you so much for this year and joining us throughout the whole year. If this is your first tasting, we hope to see you next year. We've got many more exciting things coming up. And thank you for joining us.
Enjoy the rest of the drams and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Stay well, stay happy, stay sipping.
Yes, absolutely. Merry Christmas, everybody.